Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 273rd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I am your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening we have Rob Kelly, Ozzy Smith, Gabe Lewis, Dave Loback, and Andy Patterson. We're hoping to have a guest come on shortly. We were hopefully having 3 on tonight, but 2 of them unfortunately have pulled out, so we'll endeavour to get them on in future weeks. But our one guest will be well worth it, I'm sure you'll all agree. Let's get on with the action straight away. We'll be going on to Triple G, VANES, Martirossi, and later Linares, Lomachenko, a few other talking points, a few questions, Bellew of the weeks, all the usual stuff. We'll be going for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, as we usually do. Let's start off. Only one place to start off, really, isn't there? Over in London, Eddie's done it again. He's pulled a pay-per-view off, £20. Whoever paid for it, good luck to you. Haye against Bellew, knockout in the 5th round. We pretty much called it, Andy, didn't we, most of the panel? We felt that Haye was past it. His body was too fragile. It wouldn't hold up. And Bellew fought a very smart fight, I thought. A lot of movement, got Haye moving. Was Haye injured? He said afterwards he wasn't. Twinkle in his eye. He knows it's going to go down in history that he was injured for the 2 fights. He thinks his legacy is intact. More importantly for his bank balance, he's gone away with a nice big payday. I don't want to see him in a ring at this sort of level ever again. Whether he'll even box again is open to debate. I don't think he will. I think he's done. I think his knees, his shoulders, they're all gone. Fair play to Bellew, Andy. Whether he'll fight again, we don't know. What about the fight itself? Shitfest, better than you expected? Where are you sitting tonight?
Well, I think we all said last week I wasn't really kind of too keen on the fight. We all knew it was a kind of pension Jay. There's John on the calling room if you want to go to him straight away.
Will do indeed, Andy. Sorry to cut you off there. We'll come back to you shortly, but we want to go to a fighter who appeared on the undercard. He was on last week, becoming a bit of a regular now, John Ryder. Welcome back to the show. How you doing, John?
Hello, mate. How's it going?
Not too bad. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good, yeah.
Excellent stuff. First of all, congratulations on the win. Has it sunk in? How are you feeling today?
You know what? I'm on cloud nine. It's just really not sunk in yet. It was a great feeling last night, and to wake up today just don't feel real.
You did brilliant. It was over pretty quickly in the second round. Was it quicker than you expected? You got to him a bit sooner than you thought you would?
Yeah, much quicker. I mean, I did believe I was supremely confident going into the fight that I would win and possibly get a late stoppage, but confident I could win on points. But for it to end that early and that quick, I'm as surprised as anyone.
You were setting him up early for the shots that ultimately finished him. Did you notice the opening straight away? He was making mistakes pretty much from the get-go?
Yeah, I mean, my plan was to not really throw hardly anything for the first round, and then really just get behind the jab in the second round and just start trying to counter, but it all fell in place a bit too soon.
Did you feel anything from him? I mean, a bit of a stupid question, but I mean, did he have much power, physical strength, anything that you were, maybe thinking about early?
Yeah, I think early on he was physically quite strong. He didn't really land with nothing clean to feel his power. I've got a few cuffing shots in the back of the head, but nothing, only like glancing blows really.
Yeah, he tried a few to the back of the head. He tried to throw the head in once as well. I mean, we know he has a history of low blows and stuff. Do you think he was trying to rough you up, but you weren't going to stand for that type of behaviour?
Yeah, no, I was fully prepared for that, and I was just knew that I'd have to be on it for the full 12 rounds, just to be careful not to get cuts or any silly little headbutts or anything.
Just before we bring members of the panel in, obviously we're looking next at ringside. They were talking to you. Tyrone Zoiga's name was mentioned, as we mentioned last week as well. Is Zoiga the one you really want now, John?
Yeah, I think so. He's the regular champ. Don't know what's the situation with George Groves, whether he's going to fight in the finals. I know he's got that injury, but I know he's tied up with that at the moment. So yeah, I'd love Tyrone Zoiga and just really get my shot at a world title would be ideal.
Certainly would be. Anyone from the panel want to have a word with John while we've got him on?
Yeah, John, do you think Eddie Hearn's going to get back behind you now? I know, I think it was after the Arnfield fight, you might have parted ways of sort. Do you think after 2 excellent wins, he's going to support you now and look to help you get that Zoiga fight or something on a similar level?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, him and Barry gave me their word yesterday that it would be a world title next, so I hope he does. I mean, listen, I'm not silly. I understand that boxing's a business. If I'm not getting the wins, then they've got really no interest in helping me. So I'm there now. I've got something to offer. So, yeah, I hope they can get behind me and deliver what they promised.
And what would you say to any sort of a fighter that you've suffered defeats before? What would you say that about coming back and rebuilding, and in reality that suffering a loss isn't the end of the world or a career?
Well, look, I'm living proof of that. And you look at Jason Melbourne the weekend. He's had his defeats. He's come back. He's beat Marcus Morrison. I think he's had another couple of good wins, and then he's just going to win the British middleweight title, beating Tommy Langford. So I think me and him are prime examples that you haven't got to have a fully winning record to succeed in this game.
And one more from me, sorry. I know we've spoke about it before, John, but is the James DeGale fight something that you would take tomorrow if it was offered to you?
Yeah, 110%. I mean, I'm a big fan of James. I've sparred a lot of rounds with James, and I respect him as a fighter and as a person. But this boxing's a business. I believe his best days are behind him, and I believe that it could be a fight I could win and win well.
Yeah, thanks, Ozzy. Just before bring Rob in, John, we were talking about the losses, obviously not meaning the end, and James Tennyson as well is living proof of that on Saturday night. Obviously, you're a teammate of Martin J. Ward, and it was difficult to take, but good win for Tenny, and another example of how, it's more about experience losing these fights sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you use it as a learning curve and not get too down in it. Listen, Martin Ward will come back a different animal now, I'm sure of that. But yeah, I wasn't too sure on James Tennyson's record prior to that fight, but he's got a good win there, and he's looking at a world title shot himself now. So fair play to him.
Yeah, I'm based in Belfast. James is an excellent fighter. Let's get wrapping Rob Kelly in. Rob, what do you want to say to John?
No, I just wanted to say it was mentioned before on the pod, but I haven't been on. You've been on 3 times. I haven't been on either time. But my dad's the one who's first cousins with your granddad Tom. So I know Tom quite well. And he's been keeping us up to date with your career before the TV fights and everything. So we're all delighted that he got the win, dude.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you.
Cheers, Rob. Anybody else want to say anything to John before we let him go? We do thank John for coming on this evening. Anybody? Don't think so. Just what about the main event, John, just before we move on? Did you stay around to watch it? Any thoughts on Bellew, Haye, respective performances?
So I thought David Haye started the first round well. I thought it looked like he caught Tony a few times. It looked like Tony was a bit gun-ho early on, but from the second round on, it was just all Tony, and he did what he said he was going to do, and he stopped him earlier. I just think David Haye's just too injury prone now. I don't think he's probably had a great camp to get to this stage. And I just think it just shows now his body's bad, and he can't really live up to it now.
Yeah, when it gets to that stage and your body just can't do what you want to do, it gets dangerous, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. His reactions weren't there. For 3 minutes, he looked like the vintage David Haye, but after that, I think it was just the long shorts, really. But after that, you could see that he fell apart.
Yeah, he certainly did. And as for your career moving forward, we'll follow you on Twitter, _John_Ryder_, and hopefully any developments or anything, Eddie will push you forward now, and best of luck in the future with this world title shot, which we hope will come, John.
Lovely. Thank you for having me on again, and thanks for the support.
Cheers. All the best, John. Thank you.
All the best, mate. Cheers.
Congrats from America.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, thanks, John.
Congrats from America.
Dave Trump over there. Nice to have you on, Dave. Yeah, Andy, we cut you off in your prime. It always happens.
No.
Please proceed.
No, that was good of John getting that victory there last night. John says it himself. Hey, kind of first round, you look kind of okay as such, but I just felt when Bellew decided just to stand in there and let his hands go, and I think he just truly felt he had the power to actually hurt Haye early doors, and he did it. He proved it. Again, it's the old left hook. It's one of Tony's best punches, the left hook. And I think if you actually account for the three knockdowns, I think it was. I think you could actually see the 3 knockdowns accounted for the left hooks. So, but what was it? There was no title up for grab. I'm not going to go too balls deep on it. I didn't comment too much on it last week. I had expected Tony to win the fight. He is what he is now. He is a 37-year-old kind of pumped up model, so to speak. He's just going to have to, go into reality TV and trade on that fading name value. But as a fighter, he's done. If you talk about he's not got the explosiveness anymore. Never even, I know he landed a few shots from Bellew last night, but you know, Haye of old would have been in there stinging shots, you know, full leverage. He was leaning a lot on the kind of front foot as well, so he was obviously taking a lot of power off the back foot. So he wasn't kind of turning these shots. But if you look at kind of how Bellew was throwing his punches, torquing with the left hook, and that it was vicious power for Bellew. He absolutely nothing left, and but it is what it is, a pension fight. You know, Bellew's probably got a lot of options open to him now. Best of luck to him, but I genuinely don't think he'll face the likes of Usyk or Gazaev winners, Wilder, Joshua, Tyson Fury. Maybe he will. Depends if the money's right. He probably will take the fight. But you know, the way Tony's talking there last night, that's clear that his missus is kind of pushing him now to kind of think about retirement and that. So if he's going to keep fighting, it's going to have to be a big money fight, and probably one with the least risk. So I don't know which way he's going to go at the minute, but you know, that's all I can say on the fight. It was just we knew what it was. It was just a money grab.
Not just his missus, but Dave Coldwell. He said he wanted him to retire before the or after the last Haye fight.
Yeah. Sorry, Andy, were you going to add something there? I'll cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, mate. I mean, obviously he's got his gig at Sky. I don't know if he's got another bit in this movie coming up with Sly Stallone and that with Creed. I don't know if he's got another part in that, but he's making money easier ways, shall we say. He's probably kind of, if he's got enough money, get it invested, get it making money for him, get a monthly wage coming into the house and stuff, and he's living in Clover, you know. So you know, if he retires, best of luck to him. Haye needs to retire regardless. Bellew's probably got a couple of fights left in him. Against who, I do not know, but there is options there if he wants to take them. But you know, the ones that we want to see him take, it's massive risks.
Yeah, Ozzy, don't get me wrong. When Haye was at cruiserweight, I enjoyed a lot of his fights. I remember on Sky, I've said before, the fights against the likes of John Mark Mormek, Giacobi Fragamini, his knockouts over Rosito, Gurov. I think that was when he won the European title, even Glenn Kelly. But he showed early on against the likes of Carl Thompson that sometimes when faced with adversity, and more so someone who can take his power and keep firing back, he doesn't like it. And regardless of the injuries last night, that was a key factor in the fight. Bellew could take his power when a lot of people thought he couldn't, and Bellew could hurt him like a lot of people thought he couldn't. And those two factors meant that not only was his body crumbling, but his mentality and his mind was crumbling too, Ozzy.
I completely agree. And whilst I thought his attitude, he showed more respect to Bellew, I still believe he thought he could win the fight. But at the end of the day, I picked Haye. I thought in the last fight he was winning, and it was simply an injury. But this time, his body is simply held together by anything he can. What's his biceps have been rejoined together, Achilles, everything. He is a walking wounded. And whilst he said he wasn't injured last night, the guy couldn't take a shot. It was weird, and there was no balance. There wasn't anything like. On one of the knockdowns, he was holding the back of his Achilles again and things like that. And you think, in reality, was he really fit? And in my opinion, he was there for a cash out, and he's walking away with one of those balaclavas on, wads of cash over his back, and he's conned the public again. And it's one of them. Bellew put it on him. I think Bellew knew what he was to do. And I heard stories about Bellew that even he was struggling in camp of sorts, and he is perhaps on the decline of sorts. Otherwise, why would everybody around him be calling for retirement? No, Matt, you've got to read into that. But for me, yeah, Haye is a shadow of his former self, and it's not good to see, really. It's a shame, and I think if you were to ask the more casual followers of the sport, what would you remember of David Haye? They're going to remember him for 2 sorry defeats against Tony Bellew, and not for the excellent stuff he did at the cruiserweight division, from where he was one of Britain's best.
Yeah, a few comments are coming on the Facebook page. Dan Dodge says, Haye looked fairly comfortable until his ego got the better of him. Went for the power shots, missed, and played into Bellew's hands. What a peach of a left hook from the bomber, though, as Andy mentioned, and a great finish. Fair play. Darren Craig said, Haye has to be the biggest con job in the history of British boxing. Sharing Rob's sentiments there. For years, this man has banged his chest, issued threats, promises, and delivered on nothing. His baby toe in the Vlad fight pulls out of both fights with Fury, and then lies about his body in both Bellew fights. It's a fair summation. He was never a true heavyweight, in my opinion, and based his career on smashing bums like Enzo, Harrison, and Chisora. Good riddance, David. And following Rob on that sentiment, David Odell jumped in and said, "Hayes a cunt." So a few differing opinions there, Rob. I know where you stand. The biggest con job since, what is it? The biggest con since the Guinness fraud?
Oh man, it's the two of them last night, like an absolute joke. If you paid for that last night, at least you got to see Ryder get the good knockout for the hardcore fans. Like, but the rest of it like was casual central. If you paid for that last night, you probably thought it was a brilliant battle. Like, what you saw is two fellas who are not even in the discussion for a world title in the heavyweight division, having a fight at heavyweight in a rematch of a fight that was a fucking fast the first time around. Like, and what do you get? A bigger fast the second time. Of course he was injured. He went over like a ragdoll, didn't he? Like, he was injured. The whole fight was a joke. And then I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another payday if they make him a Pricey. Would not be surprised at all. David Haye versus Price, and I wouldn't be surprised if off the back of this Creed 2, because Ward is in that. Like,
Dillian White's wanting to fight Haye now.
Yeah, probably be him, wouldn't it?
But the thing is, he could probably do 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 tickets somewhere because the casuals love him. Like, I don't understand it, but like I was even out last night in the pub. Everyone's rooting for Haye. Like, they're all, you know what I mean? It's like, and the other Aegis then are watching Bellew on Soccer AM or whatever. Like, oh yeah, he's the right likable character. Yeah, he is. Yeah, top man. Andre Ward, they're calling out. He has no hope. I wouldn't be surprised if they made that fight based off the Creed 2 thing, and it's a low risk from the fact that in terms of taking punishment, he wouldn't expect to take severe punishment from Andre Ward, even though I don't think he could hit him with a dishcloth. But look, a fast, like an absolute fast, and this whole shit that we had to listen to in the week in the build up to it, like with Eddie, and you know, this whole thing, like, you know, this is the most dangerous opponent over 4 rounds in professional boxing. Is he? Yeah, he's more dangerous than Deontay Wilder. Is he? Give me a break. Like, it's just absolute. And the worst thing about this fight is that not all credit to Tony Bellew, who's made a lot of money in his career, and in fairness to fighters, it's a tough sport, and I want to see the fighters make as much money as they can rather than the promoters. But the worst thing about it is that we get another pay-per-view date out of Bellew now. Like, do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if there's talks of the Fury fight. Couldn't see him seriously taking that one, but I could easily see that Ward one being made. And Ward hasn't ruled it out either. He made a statement today, I think, to somebody saying that he'd entertain a phone call if Eddie'd pick up the phone, but he's still waiting for Eddie to pick up the phone for the Frotz rematch, so he won't hold his breath.
Yeah, you may get saving up in your piggy banks. I can see another pay-per-view around the corner. Some more comments from the Facebook page. Paul Massingham. I had Bellew winning on points before, but he did even better. He's a lot better boxer than what people give him credit for, regardless of Haye not being what he was. Kevin Chase says, didn't watch it, don't care. It was a British heavyweight title fight at best. 2 guys scrapping outside a pub and one with crutches at worst. And Tom Woodrow says, David Haye has full-blown AIDS and he hasn't won a fight or made love to a woman since becoming a vegan.
Talking about women, by the way, I mean, how much has his wife fucking done him in a divorce, by the way?
That's his biggest knockout loss in recent years, man.
What's everyone's favourite Rita Ora song, by the way?
Oh dear, yeah, that's a big L for the Haymaker. Gabe, tell me about this Andre Ward thing. I know that they've got the Creed history and all that, but it's one of the most bizarre call-outs ever. When Bellew's parading around going, I want Andre Ward, it just doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
I have no clue what the fuck that's about. He's retired. He said multiple times that he's not coming back. I don't know if that's true or not. I think in a while he'll be back at some point, but I mean, I really don't understand the point of calling that guy out of everyone. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So I was kind of baffled whenever I heard him say, like, what the hell is he calling out Andre Ward for? I don't know. I don't have a clear answer on that one. As far as I know, there's been no discussion, literally zero, from anyone about Ward coming out of retirement. So, I mean, if he can con him out of retirement to come make the fight, I guess. I don't know. I have no clue.
What about the fight itself, Gabe? Quick rundown. Glad to see the back of Haye. Sad, crying last night. What was the mood in Texas like?
Well, I doubt I speak for all of Texas, but I've always been on Haye's wagon. I've always enjoyed watching him fight. You know, I mean, I think that the sentiment that most people are having right now that he's a con is not accurate for the whole career that he's had over the last quite a few years, actually. I would say it actually has been rather accurate. He just talks his way into fights and doesn't back them up, doesn't even go through with the fights in the case of Fury. And so many times I think that is where that comes from. And, you know, even as a fan, there's nothing you can say to defend that kind of thing. You know, it's always going to be, what's the latest thing you've done in boxing? I mean, that's the way it always is. That's the way it always has been. What's the last thing you did? That's what you get remembered for. And in Haye's case, it makes sense that he is looked at that way because that's what he's done recently. That's all he's done recently is run his yap and then either not show up for a fight, pull out of a fight, or get fucking beat. So
yeah, what have you done for me lately? We're going to have a look through Haye's heavyweight career in great depth with you, Haye, to Dave Lowback. Just before we do, Teddy Watson, final comment on Facebook, said, notice Sky have pretty much brushed Haye's foot injury again. Barely seen a mention of it. That injury makes him a completely different fighter. Haye at his best was great at fighting on the back foot with explosive counters to start his attack. A fucked Achilles totally takes that away. Not taking any blame away from Haye, though. He's a con man. Clearly knew he was injured twice. We've mentioned his cruiserweight reign, Dave. Even I was a fan of that, but his heavyweight reign, it's not the greatest, is it? You know, made his heavyweight debut in 2008 against Monty Barrett, then beat the Beast from the East, the widely derided Circus Act. I was a fan of Value, so I don't particularly think that, but I mean, God, that was one of the strangest heavyweight title fights I've ever seen. Then he beat John Ruiz, knocked out Audley in a farce, lost in the biggest challenge of his heavyweight career against Vladimir Klitschko, gave a pretty piss-poor performance as well. Then he knocked out Chisora in that non-sanctioned thing at West Ham, came back after 4 years out, obviously all the business outside the ring as well, the fighting and all that stuff, fought Mark Dimori in a farcical fight, then the Human Password, and then these two fights against Bellew. Rate Haye's heavyweight career overall, Dave, over the 10-year period out of 10, with 1 being terrible and 10 being amazing.
Heavyweight career, I'm rating it a 2. And the only reason it's not a 1 is because of Chisora. That's his best win. I think his heavyweight career is shit. Valuev, he beat him less convincingly than shot to shit Holyfield beat him. Ruiz, he was done. Monte Barrett, come on, he's not a heavyweight, is he? And shattered against Vlad. Basically did most of the fight on his knees, and now has lost twice to a light heavyweight, Tony Bellew, who struggled with Isaac Chilemba. So I mean, I'm just thrilled actually at Haye's downfall. It was hilarious last night watching him get absolutely obliterated with ease. And Tony actually looked pretty good. He looked better than he did in the first fight. He I think it was a matter of confidence. Maybe he was supremely confident. He wasn't afraid for a second that Haye could do anything. He said post fight, he hurt me in there. I don't think he was hurt for a second. I think as soon as he felt Haye's power and he felt he couldn't hurt him, and immediately just from then on just started mugging at him, hands down, moving his head to avoid shots. I mean, he looked really sharp, and I mean a lot of that has to do with Haye being shot, possibly injured. It doesn't really matter to me whether he's injured or just shot. He's been a con man his whole career. And as far as I know, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he wasn't hurt and was just like trying to appear like the bigger man, saying, oh, I'm making no excuses, but everybody knows deep down that I was injured and would have won in my prime. Like all that shit. Yes. I think he's either way, he's trying to like put on that caricature of himself. He deserved what he got for all of his bullshit over the years. And I hope he never fights again, but if he does, he's probably going to look like shit and will probably lose against anyone reasonably good. So that's fine. Tony Bellew, good for him. I like the guy, even though he talks a lot of shit. He's like, yeah, like Donnie said the week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, he's like our pod mascot in a way because of the Bellew of the week. And
you've liked him since the forum days, haven't you, Dave?
Yeah, well, I haven't hated him, at least since the forum days. I think he's a decent fighter, and he's done pretty well for himself considering his level of talent. Really, I think he's definitely improved boxer in the past like 2-3 years. I think he's the old Tony Bellew doesn't spark out Makabu. That's I think his best win, and that's a very good win, and he did it in phenomenal style. So good on him. He's taken some challenges, and I don't really have too much bad to say about him. So he sells the fight pretty well, and he says some outlandish shit, but he can acknowledge that. So I'm down with Bellew, and I don't really care what he does from here on, because I know. I mean, we all know he's not a top cruiserweight. He's not a top heavyweight. Well, actually, he's at least in the top 10 at cruiserweight.
What about him calling out Usyk and Gassiev, Dave?
He's not elite. Did he call them out last night? I heard him call out Andre Ward. I heard him call out Dillian White, sort of call out Dillian White. He said he needs a mega fight. Usyk, Gassiev, I think they would definitely stop him. Although he would get some work in beforehand. He's not garbage. But yeah, I think Usyk would school him, actually. Gassiev might be entertaining until Bellew got stopped. I think Bradis would school him, similar to what Usyk would do to him. But yeah, he's probably top 10 cruiserweight, which is not bad. Like Masternak, the Masternak fight, he fought him basically on even terms. Masternak's probably a top 10 cruiser, isn't he? Got another win.
Masternak just beat Kalenga, but I think Kalenga quit because he wanted to stick one up his manager, Gary Hyde, by the sound of it. So,
did anyone see how he looked in that fight? Because I thought Masternak was he looked against Bellew.
I've got a copy. I started to watch it, but as Steve says, Kalenga actually released a statement right after that fight saying, I don't know, I'd need to go back and check it, but as Steve said, he kind of bailed on the fight, so he didn't know how to take that performance.
Everybody hates Gary Hyde. I guess he's kind of an ineffectual manager, isn't he?
I like him. He's always good for a quote, he's Gary. Sorry, carry on, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad with the outcome, because it means we won't be seeing a third one. Although, if Haye really wanted, he could go and smash David Price, which he probably could do even at this stage.
No. They're big mates. They ain't going to fight, and Price is massive compared to him.
I thought because Bellew's big mates with Price. I thought if Haye went and smashed him.
Oh, sorry, you were talking about Haye. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Bellew. Apologies, Dave.
No, yeah, I was talking about Haye. I think even Haye at this stage of his career could probably get Price out of there. It might be like a good contest. I don't know. It's hard to predict that fight, actually.
It'd be like two people fighting in wheelchairs, though, wouldn't it? Them two going at each.
I think that's the fight to make, actually. It'd be funny. And whoever loses that could go in the nursing home. And then whoever wins, I mean, if Haye wins, he could probably finagle that third fight with Tony Bellew. Just coming out of the closet saying, I was actually injured and now I'm fit again. He could probably sell that shit. And now I just beat your mate, so you have to come and avenge me. I wouldn't be surprised to see Haye try that. But it's unlikely. I think more likely he's going to maybe fight some more passwords. Probably not look very good. Maybe get a win or two and then call it a day, sort of, just because he's a guy who goes long stretches between fights. So eventually he's going to get too old to even consider making another fight, regardless of what he does next. Well, glad he's done. Good for Bellew. He's made his money. Don't really care too much what he does next, because, like I said, he's not going to be elite at cruiserweight. He's not going to be elite at heavyweight, certainly. But I wouldn't mind seeing him against Usyk or any of those guys. Maybe Bradis. Well, Bradis is sitting out, waiting for the winner of the tournament. I don't think he would take that fight as much as he calls them out. I don't think Bellew's interested in that. He wants big names, big stars. Because he also said that after the fight. The only way he's continuing on is huge fights.
Dave, just to wrap up, would this be a fair assessment of what you're thinking right now?
I'm a gorilla. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I'm a gorilla. I talk to no shit.
No, that's kind of irrelevant. But I'm glad it's been saved.
Right, let's move on. Thanks for that, Dave. Aussie Willie C00 was asking a question pretty much in line with what Dave was talking about there. He said, what's next for Bellew? Do you think we've seen the last of both of these guys in the ring, not just Haye?
Haye should not be awarded a license licence off the British board. He's clearly not fit. So I want to know how he passes medicals and things like that. He should not be awarded a licence. With Bellew, I think that's up to him. He talks about the Tyson Fury fight. I think him being Fury being with Frank Warren now puts that to bed. Dillian Whyte, I don't see what it does for Dillian Whyte. I don't think Bellew is ranked by any of the sanctioning bodies at heavyweight. So what does that do for Dillian Whyte? And I'd love to see Bellew go and put his actually say what he's going to do and call out the winner of Usyk and Gassiev, because he'll get fucking iced. That's what'll happen to him, because they'd both beat him and they could fight each other because it'd be that comfortable. Will he do anything? I'm not too sure. In my opinion, he has no business at heavyweight. He's beaten a shot to bits David Haye, and that's it. What else does it for him? He's not going to fight Joshua. He's not going to fight Wilder. What's the point in him being at that weight? There's no other real major money fights for him.
What's this about him and AJ being these busy mates all of a sudden? First I've heard of this.
He's shitting himself, isn't he? He said it straight away. Oh no, what I don't get, Anthony Joshua is too big for me. Oh, I'll take on Tyson Fury though. Tyson Fury's massive, about 6'9", and weighs about 19 stone. But he obviously Bellew, but it's a good money fight for him. I don't know with Bellew. It genuinely wouldn't shock me if he doesn't fight again. They can talk about the money fights, but it's a case of he'll have his set amount. He'll, for example, want £2.5 million, and if he can get given that for boxing, whoever, I think he'll take it. Otherwise, it wouldn't shock me if we don't see him in a ring again.
Fair enough. I'm going to put the main event to bed. Andy, I'm going to come to you in a second and you can have the pick of the undercard, John's fight or Butler or whatever you want to talk about. Just before we do, Porky Russ tagged me in on something just before we came live. A guy called Ryan Younger 10 on Twitter. He wrote quite an interesting little piece. I'm going to quickly read it out as quickly as I can. He said, as somebody of whom has never laced a pair of gloves on or been professionally involved or financially, for that matter, in the great sport of boxing, why is it that fighters can have such glittering careers, yet so many go on to fight past what many describe as their heydays, if you'll excuse the pun, with the huge financial rewards to be reaped and fame that comes hand in hand with big-time boxing? What would make these top guys want to endure that downward slide and, in my opinion, tarnish great legacies? Have we produced an era of fighters in which money is the only importance? British titles seem to carry little importance, and world ambitions scrapped for the right money, fights, etc. £20 pay-per-view to watch fighters of whom were at their prime fighting on regular shows for half the purse. This isn't a pop at anyone, just a fan trying to make sense of the crazy new era of boxing. Bring back 50-50 fights to the great sport of boxing, says Ryan Younger. He goes on a bit, and this isn't, what does he say at the end? Stop rinsing us for mediocre shows, especially when a country we have so much talent to be matched. So that's just a bit of a rant there from a guy who's a bit pissed off with this. But you know what? It's been happening for years, decades. In fact, it'll keep happening. There's no way you can stop it. If there's money to be made and guys need it, they will fight for it way past their so-called legacies. We've had this conversation before. I think we'll leave it there. Andy, as I said, anything on the undercard that took your fancy? Maybe start off with Tennyson Ward.
I think I actually joined that one kind of late, mate, so I can't really comment too much. I actually want to talk about Joe Joyce getting
Go ahead, yep.
punched in the bollocks and just like kind of like shrugging it off, steps in my short left, took and ices his opponent. The guy's a tank, you know. I know Thomas might not be great and stuff, but you could just see that Joyce was just, you know, the way he set the pace again, right for the off. He's going to take a bit of beating. I know he got stopped in the amateurs against the guy Kuzman, but in all honesty, he got dropped kind of heavily, but it's amateur rules. You know, the ref gave him a standing 8 count and stopped the fight. If it was a pro fight, it would have been well to continue.
Unless he and John Lewis were doing the count.
True, very true. Aye, very true. We'll get to that. So, but Joyce, mate, he's been letting guys out in the amateurs and stuff and that as well. So you know, his power's legit. I know there was a lot of noise there last night, but I don't know if he could actually hear it. But those are third and shots. Like, I'm not predicting he's going to actually be like any major threat to, like, say, maybe Joshua or Fury or whatever and that. But I'll tell you what, I think he'll put him in a decent fight. Unless
Can he maintain the pace, Andy, over 10, 12? That's the question.
Well, I'm trying to remember, did he actually maintain the pace in his fight against Lewison? Because I know that went 8.
Pretty much. But then I suppose with Lewison, he was more of a sitting target rather than throwing back, you know?
I mean, he's going to have problems with like Huey and Tyson if he ever fights they guys. I know Mike mentioned Sexton and Fury next week, but I've not seen Sam Sexton in years, so I couldn't even comment as to where he's at. I would probably pick Joyce to beat the likes of Sexton, for example. John Ryder, really good performance. I think it was a right-hander. Knocked the guy out right and square of the forehead. Really good performance. And I think that's all really I kind of watched. Buatsi, I think he kind of worked on his game a wee bit. Just wanted to go a few rounds. It's high time. Again, we mentioned it last week. He needs to get a push and get a step up in class. I think they even mentioned it last night as well. Up to 10 rounders, maybe a couple of titles or whatever, and that you want to throw it into the mix. But he needs a step up. I think he needs something to kind of really get the juices flowing a wee bit. And Erod, Manny Rodriguez, I thought he was really, really excellent there last night. Even though Butler, he was gritty enough, but Rodriguez was absolutely I thought he was silky smooth, jab. I thought he maybe kind of gave up in the body shots a wee bit, actually, kind of as the fight wore on. I thought if he went with dig in with left hooks to the body, might have forced the fight, maybe kind of got the stoppage.
Maybe shots to the bell could have got it finished.
Maybe aye, but I don't know if he maybe hurt his hand or maybe it was a wee injury there. I really don't know, but he seemed to kind of like abandon that for some reason. He was happy to kind of jab and just kind of win clearly on points. So that was basically that, mate. Tennis, I'm trying to remember, was it a knockout?
You see, I actually didn't see the Tennyson fight because I was working. I rushed home to watch it thinking, they'll put all the good stuff on after 7. And I come in just as it had finished and this was like 20-7. I don't know why they had it on so early. I haven't seen it. I
can't remember seeing it myself, actually. I need to go back and check.
We'll get one of the guys in to talk about it, don't worry. Anything else, Andy, from there?
No, that's fine, mate. That's all I've seen now. Obviously they put the Campbell fights as fillers between the knockouts. I suppose, see the biggest probably saving grace here last night. At least most of the fights ended early, so we didn't have to kind of sit to fucking midnight and have to drain ourselves to watch that shit.
Good point. Ozzy, you can tell us about Tennyson Ward in a minute. I'm pretty sure you saw it. But just before you do, Joey at Master Mode 33 sent in a question about Butler. A theory for you guys to discuss, says Joey. Butler missing weight was not by accident, he says. The training team saw this Rodriguez, realised they were not beating him at all, so they needed some sort of excuse to run with in order to keep Butler in contention after this defeat. What do you think about that one, Ozzy? I'm liking this conspiracy theory.
It's a big call to make. I mean, to accuse somebody of missing weight on purpose is obviously you've got to have some reason for it. But it isn't the first time Paul Butler's missed weight. When he was with Frank Warren, he was fighting a Thai guy. I forget his name now. Pretty much unpronounceable when he was down at Superfly, and he missed the weight then quite convincingly. And the fight was called off because it was Frank who pulled the fight because he heard Butler had been sat in a sauna trying to get the extra few pounds off.
Yeah, Foz had reported it, I think.
Yeah, and he pulled the fight, and I applaud that.
It was because of that. It was because of Fozzy's words, and that's the reason why the card got pulled. Did they get banned or something? I remember Warren was raging.
No. Frank pulled the fight. Foz got banned because I think he reported about Rigondon not having a visa or something like that, and the fight fell through with Jazza Dickens. That's why he got banned.
Oh, right.
But it was the Butler fight he reported about, like going in a sauna, and the fight was pulled from that. And I applaud that, and I think more needs to be done about fighters missing weight. I know Andy mentioned it in our chat when Higa got a ban off the board in his country. And
he's also been forced, unless when he gets to return, he's been told he must move up in weight, or he doesn't get the fight again in Japan.
Yeah. The Japanese Boxing Commission have said that, yeah.
That is brilliant, by that's what I said as well. What should be happening with Butler in this country? I mean, too many fighters missing weights. If you want to be really ruthless about it, make them fight up in weight. If you can't make weight, go up.
And I agree with that. I think it's happening all too often at the moment, and Butler is not a big bantamweight. This isn't someone, like Zalani Tete, who looks massive at the weight. This is Paul Butler, who came up from Superfly, and in my opinion, didn't look all that big at that weight then, although you don't have to look big to obviously outgrow it. But again, we're not talking a few ounces here. We're talking, what was it? I actually think his first official weight wasn't recorded.
3 pounds?
There, but yeah, 3 to 4 pounds. Now, in that instance, it's like you can't, in my opinion, make a mistake by 3 to 4 pounds. It's like, has he eaten that morning or something like that? And for me, he should forfeit 50% of his purse. He should suffer a ban. And people who cheat the weight or fail to make it need to be made examples of, because at the end of the day, this is their livelihood. And I'm glad he didn't win, and I'm glad he lost convincingly as well, because for me, it puts to bed any hopes of him winning a world title again.
Ozzy, what about Zolani Tete's role in all of this? Obviously, Butler looking so bad here, and Tete looking so bad about Narvaez. Is this make us reconsider our opinions on Tete the last couple of weeks?
I thought it myself, to be honest. Now, I do rate Tete, and I think he was levels above that Narvaez, and I think he does have concussive power, but there's only so much you can do as a fighter when your opponent is doing nothing. I've seen people struggle with journeymen before, and these foreign journeymen are utter shite. But at the end of the day, if they're not doing anything, like I said, I was at a show at the Guildhall, and the referee actually stepped in and said, "If you do not throw a punch, I will chuck you out." And I think that makes it difficult for a fighter because there's only so much you can do. Now, Butler, he gave it his all against Tete and was massively outclassed, and I thought it was an excellent display from Tete that night. And I can understand that, but I said before, Butler's two best wins are Stuart Hall. After that, he hasn't got a lot. He's not got a lot going for him, really.
Adam Smith kept referencing that, didn't he? He said that 2 or 3 times. Well, he looked amazing outboxing Stuart Hall, like as if this was some kind of excuse. Like, yeah, but it's Stuart Hall.
Exactly, and he's not done anything since, and it's the typical British attitude at the moment, from where we've just got this opinion of bypassing like the levels just to go onto world level, because literally you think, oh, I'm a big name, I deserve it. No, I'm not saying you have to win a British title to go through the levels. Like, you can get an opportunity and like go and win the European title, going away from home and things like that. Like Tennyson, I know he can't box for the British. Sorry, he can. He lost to Ryan Walsh, didn't he? But he's recovered from that, and he's now the European champion, which he's obviously kind of bypassed that level of sorts, but he's had the fights, to make up for it. For Butler now, it's a difficult one for him. Now, where do you match him? He's obviously failed the weight again. He was never in it, never in it at all. Can you see him up there at bantamweight again? No. I think the plan was for him to win the fight and to match him with Ryan Burnett. Well, that's gone out the window now. The only thing,
but Ozzy Froch says that the 120-108 scorecards didn't tell the story of the fight. He was in the fight. It was competitive.
Well, it's impossible, absolutely impossible, and Carl Froch is a bullshitter, utter bullshitter.
Gutsy stuff. This from Paul Butler.
And this is what I mean. It's a typical English trait, really. We love to applaud failure. Like, oh, he put in a great effort. In reality, no, he wasn't good enough. And I'd have a lot more respect for people who just said, at the end of the day, I wasn't good enough. Instead, it was a gutsy effort. Yeah, it may well have been gutsy, but in reality, he was levels and levels below. And in my opinion, you can see why Ryan Burnett chucked this belt away, because his other mandatory was a much comfortable fight compared to this guy.
Taxing that ass, baby. He was going to tax that ass.
But no, overall for Butler, where does he go, really? Where does he honestly go? Frank did extremely well to get him that world title fight. And I think it went to his head because he lost to Tete. He vacated the bantamweight belt and then went back down to Superfly, and now he's gone back up there. It's difficult to see where he goes, really, but if he faced the same rules as what he did in Japan, you would see Paul Butler going up to super bantam, and it will be even worse for him up at that weight. So no, it's going to be interesting to see, but I want to call out Joe Gallagher on this as well. I know I'm going off a bit of a tangent.
Oh, no, I'm happy to hear this. Go on.
This is not the first time that his fighters have missed the weight. Liam Smith, Paul Smith, Paul Butler, just to name 3. And we're not talking, like over a period of like 5-6 years. We're talking in the past 18 months here. And I think something has got to be looked at in his camp, because 3 fighters do not miss weight by accident. And when they have missed weight, it's by considerable amounts. And it does make you wonder, are they doing it on purpose? Or is it just a horrible calculation?
You wonder if that's why he shat his pants mid-fight. Because Joe fed him something bad that caused him to miss weight and get sick.
Oh, was he trying to shit the weight out, Ozzy, or something?
Yeah, he fucking dropped the 3 pounds on the fucking ring last night.
Yeah. I've no idea, but at the end of the day, something needs to happen about it because I'm sick of it. And like, I don't understand fighters. It is your job to make weight. You go and eat as many cakes, pies, whatever you want to do once you're retired because you don't need to make the weight. You have to make weight about 3 times a year. Do it, otherwise it can jeopardise your career. I really don't understand it.
Thanks, Ozzy. Gutsy effort from you there. Right, looking down the undercard, I noticed Money Powell the Fourth was fighting. Who's that, you might ask? Well, I'm asking the same question. No idea, but I like that name. I'm going to keep an eye on him or her, whatever it is. Mike Kramer-Stodder was the opponent. Was that even on the same card? Apparently it was. Rob, forget about that. Tell me about Butler was supposed to be fighting Jamie Conlan back when they were both with Frank, and it was talked about back and forward. I remember interviewing them both. Butler's actually a nice guy, about the respective fights and all that. If Conlan had fought Butler at the time, Rob, who do you think would have won?
Yeah, no, you'd say Jamie at the time probably had a history of kind of being in dangerous fights and coming out on the right end of him. Like, and Butler had been knocked out before, hadn't he? Like, or hurt badly before, so.
Butler seemed to be a favourite amongst the internet sort of people at the time, I seem to remember. Yeah,
Butler, they had high hopes for him. I remember like Sky were behind him firmly at one stage as well, weren't they? Like doing a lot of documentaries and behind the scenes stuff with him and stuff like. But he's all right. He's good at moving side to side, Butler. He's not special, like, you know what I mean. And he has a kind of a lack of power as well, so he's going to struggle. But yeah, I would have favoured maybe Conlan in that fight. But
what about the rest of the undercard? What stuck out for you? Did you watch it?
No, I was out last night. So I saw Ryder Cox, and I saw the main event, and then I saw the US stuff as well. So
no problem. We'll come to you on Triple G in a minute. Go ahead, Dave. You're going to give us a rundown on Money Powell the Fourth?
I'm just going to complain a little bit. We just seem to be talking about Paul Butler a lot here, and he's the one who lost the fight, got shut out, looked like shit. I mean, let's give his opponent a shout out.
Go on then.
Okay, I don't even know his name, but he's Puerto Rican. I think it's Rodriguez, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Rodriguez or Ramirez. It's Rodriguez. Yeah, the guy looked good. He looked calm. He had a great night, and especially added to the fact that I assume Butler had to give some of his purse to him. The guy looked completely confident, didn't even seem to get touched. So good for him. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. He looked a class above. Like, can we make... Is Tete at a different weight now? Did Butler move up?
No, there's talking about Rodriguez actually going into this next series, the World Boxing Super Series at bantamweight.
Yeah, it's all bantamweight, Dave.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. The guy's got a future. Forget Butler. Let's be interested in what Rodriguez does next.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Gabe, final word to you quickly. Anything from the undercard that excited you? Give me a breakdown on the Paul Butler fight, actually, Gabe. You with us, Gabe? Gabe's had enough. He's disappeared. No more Paul Butler chat for him. Andy, anything you want to add from this card, or should we move on to Triple G? What do you think?
Let's move on, mate. We've done it to death. In fact, we gave it far too much attention.
I know we did it far beyond death. Let's go on to Triple G then. Martirosyan looked like if Bradley Skeet had gone on the drink for a week after losing last week, that's what he would look like now. What Martirosyan come in the ring looking like, I think. What do you reckon, Andy?
I was I don't know who got badly fucked up last week, compared to last week, VANES or Bradley Skeet actually, but I did say actually, I said to you before I went to my bed actually that if the fight had went past 5 rounds, we could officially say that Golovkin was way past his prime. It was kind of a slow start, I thought, but he just seemed to kind of up it. He's got really, he showed great distance and that, how to get the full extension on his punches and that, the way he turns that left and right hands over him and throws it over the top and that. He quite rightly done what he should have done there last night, and that was end the guy early. Obviously, we couldn't get up for it. We were expecting the Canelo fight. I dare say there's people out there who would say he should have said, fuck it, let's just fight Canelo and get it over and done with. I really don't know where I sit at the minute, all I know is this: his options are limited. I think he's going to fight Saunders now. He's talking about this like 10% chance of fighting the Canelo next, so he's going to be looking at Saunders shortly. So I really don't know what else I can say about it. It was what it was. He stepped in there against a guy who was 2 years out of the ring, who was a light middleweight, sat in a WBC ranking for 2 years and gets iced and handled as he should have done, and that's all we can really say. I never saw anything else in the card. I'll maybe watch Brackus at some other point.
I was going to mention that actually, Andy, because the Brackus got knocked down, and a lot of people were lauding HBO, saying, "Oh, isn't it great that they're showing women's boxing and stuff?" Let's be honest. The only reason why this was shown on primetime HBO was because Gonzalez Guevara fell through. It was a piss poor card, and no offense to Brackus, she's a good boxer and everything. She has a few things she does wrong, as Barry Jones pointed out, But I mean, she wouldn't have got prime time otherwise. And I mean, her opponent was 13-6-1, I think.
Right. I've watched her a number of times. She's a decent enough boxer. She can't punch, obviously. Well, she's not got a decent enough dig on her. I need to check on the knockdown and stuff. But as you say, she got pushed up. So I think at one point it was thinking they get televised. And Gonzalez, I think Gonzalez was only like notified or no word came out anyway that 3 weeks ago that Gonzalez was going to take part of the card. So she's obviously been bumped up, but she's at a point now. Actually, I think she's done a lot for women's boxing. Being like the first undisputed world champion, first female shown on HBO and stuff. She has been like a kind of, I wouldn't even say like a kind of a blazing star, shall we say? Like a kind of beacon of light, because women's boxing still gets overlooked. Her accomplishments as a female boxer gets overlooked as well. I remember when she became undisputed champion. You would think she'd have became the first woman on the front cover of Ring magazine. It wasn't. It was Ronda Rousey, which was quite disgusting actually. So I think at this point, she's past her prime as well. She's continued to make welterweight all this time. There is talk, obviously, of the cyborg fight. Some people would maybe even mention fighting Clarissa Shields. I don't know if that would be even entertainable going up that far and weight. We'll just need to wait and see. But she's at this point in her career now, which she is trying to kind of get the biggest money fight. She's self-promoted, self-managed. So she's done a lot. She campaigned a lot to get pro boxing unbanned in Norway, so fair play to her. She will leave a legacy, and it's going to be a shame that legacy is not really going to get lauded or get the attention like it should do. But that's just the way it is.
Certainly is, Gabe. Let's bring you back in. Triple G looked a little bit sluggish in the first round, a little bit dry, possibly rusty, a little bit pissed off, and then in the second he said, "Right, I've had enough of this. I'm planting my feet, landing the big bombs, and getting this light middleweight out of there." What do you think, Gabe?
Yeah, I think he did what everybody expected him to do in that second round. I thought that it might be a trap fight for Golovkin just by the way that it started in that first round, because like you said, he looked sluggish. He looked slow. It didn't look like his mind was all there. And then VANES caught him with a few good punches, decent punches, and got his attention, I think. And so that kind of snapped him out of it. If he starts off that way in his next fight, whether it's with Canelo or a Charlo or Andrade or whoever the fuck it is, he might not fare so well. But I think it started off, it looked like it might be an exciting fight. I thought VANES didn't, he looked like he had a game plan. And, I would say fair play to him for taking that fight on late notice and give him all kinds of accolades for lasting all of a round and a half. But I don't think that's the case at all. He took the fight for the money. He got the fight. He got his money. Got knocked the fuck out. So, it's whatever. I still think he's a guy that if he trained properly and had time and stuff, I still think he could be a player at 154. I mean, I'm not saying he'll be a world beater, unify the division or anything along those lines, but just from remembering what he could do before and just some of the basic skills that he showed, he still has last night. I think it could be he could put on some decent fights at 154. But I mean, it's just call it what it was. It was a 154 guy fighting a 160 guy, and the 160 guy hits like a mule kicks. So as soon as he started landing his punches, sitting down on him, Martirosyan went, And he looked like he might have been able to get up from that knockdown. It looked like he could have, but I think he started to, and then he thought, nah, I'm not getting up from this. I'll stay down.
Yeah, I was mentioning in the chat last night, just talking about counts and stuff. Just briefly going back to the Ryder Cox fight, I was annoyed with Ian John Lewis. I don't think that the stoppage was wrong or anything, and Ryder done the job and everything was fine. But Ian John Lewis's reactions when it comes to counting or stopping a fight just piss me off. Whenever he's stopping a fight, he does the hover in front of the fighter thing and just jumps in. And whenever he's counting, he's like when you give your 3-year-old Skittles before they're about to go to bed. He gets really excited. He gets to 4 and 5, and then he starts 5, 6, 7, then he gets to 8, 9, and then he doesn't even say 10, as Paulie Malignaggi says, and just waves the fight off. So he gets a bit too excitable for my liking, but maybe nobody else agrees. Anyway, Ozzy, let's go back to Golovkin and Martirosyan. And we're not too worried about this fight. It's what comes next, isn't it? Is it going to be Canelo in September? Charlo, I made a bold claim last week about Charlo being the future of the middleweight division, beating Golovkin, etc. No pushback on that, so I guess the boxing world are on board. One fighter who I'm not interested in, and I'm putting on record right now, is Demetrius Andrade. I know he's got a lot of skills, but he can be quite negatively defensive, and I've got no time for guys who only fight once every 18 months. Don't do anything for me at all, Ozzy. No interest in seeing Andrade unless he gets a decent run together.
Yeah, I don't care about that. There's only one fight I want to see. I don't want to see Golovkin-Canelo. Canelo is a juicer and is irrelevant for me now. I want to see Golovkin and Billy Joe Saunders, where we can see all the belts on the line, because that's what I want to see. I think Saunders would certainly pose problems to Golovkin. I think he's a slick boxer, and his movement would certainly pose a few problems. Would Saunders cope with the power? I think we're not too sure about that. We've seen him take shots off Eubank Jr., Andy Lee particularly being a heavy puncher, but Golovkin is on another level in terms of power. That is the fight I want to see next. That can happen. There is nothing stopping that. And unless they are contractually obliged to fight Canelo next. But I'm seeing talk of Canelo, Spike O'Sullivan. I mean, who the fuck wants to see this? Like, I want to know, like, I'd love somebody to explain to me, like, why has Spike all of a sudden become relevant at this, at this world level, really? Because we've seen him flutter around, like European level against Eubank Jr. He lost convincingly to Billy Joe. I don't think he won a round, to be honest. He's gone over to America for a lot of cowboys. He beat Nick Quigley, who can't get a license over here because of it. I think it's a brain problem. He knocked out Antoine Douglas. And then next thing, there's, look, I want the Canelo or Golovkin fight. I'm thinking,
Douglas, that was ruined.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking, like, hold on. Who are you to say that you deserve this Canelo or Golovkin fight? Because you don't. And it pisses me off, fighters who think they have this just like unjust and deserve these fights. It's a joke. So yeah, for me next, I want to see Golovkin and Billy Joe Saunders. The fight last night, it is what it is. I thought Golovkin, I echo all your views. He looked sluggish, slow, not interested really. Like he had no respect for VANES. He got caught. I didn't agree with the commentary. I didn't think he was hurt. I thought he took bigger shots off Canelo when he wasn't hurt then. I don't think he looked hurt last night. And in the second round, I think it's like he had a rocket shoved up his backside. Go and get rid of him. And he did that in it was an excellent finish. I think that's one thing you've got to applaud, and his power really is frightening. And I don't necessarily agree with Gay, but I don't think VANES could have got up. He looked pretty scrambled to me, and if he did get up, he'd have only been going back down.
He said afterwards he'd never been hit as hard like that in his life, and this is an Olympian, multiple, long-time amateur, fought Charlo, fought, a lot of Lara, a lot of decent guys.
His power's freakish. It really is freakish, and he holds it in both hands as well. Like his jab is really thudding, isn't it, and stuff like that. And I mean, for me, like it's one thing you've got to applaud Canelo on. He also took Golovkin's power relatively well, so it shows that he's got a chin. But
because he was juiced up to the gills.
Well, yeah, probably. Yeah, he was probably juiced up completely. So take that juice out of him, and we don't know. But no, like I said, last night we didn't learn anything new, apart from the fact that maybe Golovkin looked a bit sloppy. But the second round, he looked as good as ever for me.
I just want to echo your sentiments about about Spike. I mean, I watched him on when did that come on? Friday night, and he looked like shit against a bum.
I was going to say,
like
did you see his opponent as well was a welterweight, a career welterweight, and he came up to 160. It was it was a bum. Exactly what you said. A bum.
What happened, Gabe? Did the guy quit or something? I can't remember the reports that I read.
They stopped it. I think the guy's corner stopped it after the fourth round. Maybe it didn't make it very far into the fight, but I mean, like he wasn't landing real clean. The guy was obviously, like I said, don't think much of his opponent, and he was kind of rolling with some shots here and there. You know, he did get hit clean quite a few times just because of O'Sullivan's output. But I mean, he just looked like shit. His punches weren't all that accurate. He was hitting the guy on the gloves. I'm not impressed by O'Sullivan. I mean, he's got power to some extent, and he puts a lot of punches out there, which is always entertaining. I'm not saying the guy's not entertaining, so I don't want people to come on and start getting out their pitchforks and torches on me. But I do think I don't see what the impression is with O'Sullivan. I don't get it either. I guess my point is I don't get it either. I don't think he's in line for nothing but another shit show of a bum opponent, because that's what he just fought the other day. Like, and he had an opportunity. He had a fucking opportunity to fight for a world championship against Golovkin. He didn't take it, which, I mean, by all means, fair. If you don't want to take a short notice fight with shorter money than what you want, fine. But don't bitch about it whenever you got to wait another 2 years to get a world title shot because you're not fighting anybody worth a fuck. You've already got a chance at Billy Joe and you didn't do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me to hear the guy calling anybody out because he hasn't done shit for anything. And so then he's going to get pissed off, and we're going to hear him start running his mouth now for the next 2 years solid while he's waiting to get a fight, because we got guys like Charlo, Billy Joe, Canelo, whether you respect it or don't, he's still in the mix, and that's not going to change because of the backing of Golden Boy. And then I figure Andrade will be up before O'Sullivan is. I mean, I'm not saying I have anything, any kind of favor towards that guy, but surely at some point he's coming. I mean, he's done nothing. He's done literally nothing. Nothing.
Gabe's laid it out. Rob, having been at Spike O'Sullivan's pro debut and many of his fights since, it hurts me to hear this Spike hate. He is the undisputed bantamweight champion of the world. Make a case for him at world level, Rob.
Yeah, I make a case for making a few quid for himself because there seems to be a bit of interest in him in the States after his knockout win the last time out. And I don't understand why he didn't take the Golovkin fight. He had nothing to lose, you know what I mean? And he said maybe the money wasn't right for that, and maybe they have done a deal down the line. What surprised me last night getting away from Spike, because he did what he had to do against the guy who was limited. They put the referee actually pulled the guy out after the third round, but he offered nothing. And Spike didn't look that good in victory either. Well, I like Spike, and I hope he gets payday, but that's, you know what I mean. He's kind of overachieving if he's getting a big payday. I was disappointed in Golovkin last night in the post fight, and I didn't like Max's angle either. Max said to him basically, "Your power is back. Your power is back now? Like you did. How come you couldn't do this to Canelo?"
I thought Max was poor. His line of questioning was strange, wasn't it?
Like, why he said, like, Max, give me a second. Why are you asking him that question? Like, you're pulling the line for HBO for Canelo to make Canelo look like a better character than he is now that this hair follicle thing's come out. Like, the guy failed the drug test, and he's the reason the fight didn't happen. But Golovkin had an opportunity last night to really shit on Canelo, and call everybody out. But he did this thing again, this diplomatic answer. Oh, I fight anyone. Who next? Who's next? Just say, yeah. I just say, look, I want Canelo, and I want to get him out of here in under 4 rounds. I want to beat the life out of Canelo.
I think he's difficult to listen to. I do, Rob. I know the language barrier and all that, but surely they can feed him a few pre-constructed lines, right? You say this afterwards, and you say that.
For it, look at Golovkin's career is always going to be tarnished by the fact that he hasn't got big names on his record. You know what I mean? And the two big names that he has on his record haven't been convincing wins. Granted, both of those could be juiced up to the eyeballs, but he's walked through in sensational fashion lesser opponents. But this guy last night doesn't do anything for his legacy, and he needs a legacy to find a fight. Like, for me, B Hop had one. All the other great champions had one. He's up there He's been champion for 9 years now or whatever. Like, but who's his best win apart from Canelo? No, I'm not taking anything away from Golovkin, but I'm saying for himself, for his own career, put it on the line. Like, you've only got a few more years here hanging around. You got a few more big paydays. Let's go all out now and make these fights. Like, instead of saying, "Oh, I don't care, Max. I fight anyone." Oh, no. Just, it was disappointing. It was what it was. I guess we get to the next step now and see where Golovkin goes from here.
Yeah, Triple G.
I think it's what you were talking about, or what I was talking about a minute ago. Was it doesn't fucking matter. It's going to be Canelo because it's Golden Boy. They're going to keep pushing it. It's going to happen. It's going to be next. I'm telling you guys, it's going to happen next. And that's all it is. He won't say it because they don't give him permission to say it. And even if he could, who the fuck would understand him anyway? I mean, I don't even understand half the shit he says. Like Max asks him a question and he goes off. It seems like what he's saying, is 20 miles away from the question that gets asked. I have no clue what the guy's saying half the time. I mean, get the fuck out of here. Either make the fight or don't, but get off the goddamn pot.
I have sympathy with Max. It's like trying to ask Dave questions. No offense, Dave. 20 title 20 title defenses for Golovkin now. He's tied the record with Bernard Hopkins. Any comments on the fight, Dave? Or do you just want to look to the next one? Do you think Canelo, would you be happy if Canelo was fighting Triple G next, or do you think it would be a stain on the sport?
Fuck Canelo. But I do want to see him get his ass beat, and I think that Golovkin would do it to him at this point. I think the confidence edge, because I think that Canelo's is probably in a not a very good place mentally right now or emotionally, and I think Golovkin he's shown that he can turn it up a gear when he needs to, and if he had done that in the second round against Canelo instead of kind of plodding around for about 4 rounds and giving up those rounds, you'd think he probably would have gotten the decision there, probably gotten a split decision. He probably would have even convinced Don Trella Sr. that he deserved that decision if he had stepped it up earlier. Because once he did step it up, things really went his way for the majority of the fight and the majority of those rounds. I'd like to see him and Golovkin. I'd like to see Golovkin and Canelo settle their score, even though it's bullshit and Canelo doesn't deserve the payday and all that. He's going to get paid no matter what. I want to see him smashed. And I think there's no doubt we will if he continues fighting, because he's not that good. I think Charlo might beat his ass. I don't know. Canelo is just he's at his Canelo weight, and he'll never be a great middleweight. Definitely not.
Final fight of interest on that card. I've been on the Ryan Martin train since 2017 when he beat Bryant Cruz. I know he has his detractors, but I like the look of Martin. Defeated Bradis Prescott, who looks the absolute shell of himself now. He should maybe think about retiring. He's 31-13. Prescott, and a real far cry from the guy who knocked out Amir Khan sensationally all those years ago. But onwards and upwards for Mr. Martin anyway. I'm going to continue banging on the Uzbekistani hype train. I know everybody's probably sick to death of hearing about this, but Kudratio Abdukazorov got a win over the weekend. He's 14-0, 15-0 welterweight now. And Azizbek Abdugaforov is 10-0. He defeated Dmitry Chudinov in only his 11th fight, Abdugaforov. So he could become a threat at super middleweight. These Uzbekistanis, I'm telling you, they're coming. They're going to be taking over soon at certain weights. I do believe that there's some excellent fighters coming through. Talking about taking over, Andy, we're talking about Ryan Garcia, your mate, Mr. Transgender himself. A decent step up for only his 15th fight against Jason Velez. He won by scores of 99-91 across the board. A cut eye as well for Velez. Didn't see any of this one. Did you manage to catch it in the end? What did your little mate do with himself?
I caught the first 4 rounds, mate, and I kind of switched it off. I might even caught the last couple of rounds in that as well, but you know, as we said last week, decent step up for him. Put his combination together pretty decently. Sometimes does get, you know, he's begging to get caught actually, but he keeps his chin in the air, doesn't do a lot of head movement. Doesn't really work a lot on the inside, I don't think, especially when there's a lot of grappling going on. So I know he's only 19, but I think they maybe need to take a wee step back with him at the minute. Maybe go for some of the regional titles, like the USBA title or something like that. I know he's getting pushed up the WBO rankings pretty quickly, but you know, I know he's been calling it Tank Davis. See, to be honest, fucking Davis would actually execute him. I really do believe that.
Tank's the future, man. I'm on the train, Andy. I really think this kid's special.
I'm not really there yet, mate. I know what you're talking about. I mean, I was really impressed when he ice league Walsh like that, but I just think, he could be sidetracked. Having Bronner in your life, and that as well, man, that's going to be a glutton for punishment. But I really do think Davis would absolutely ice him, would take him apart, and I forget what sparring session I watched with him, actually. I think it might be the Mayweather gym or something. Again, it was just indicament, what he does wrong, getting that chin caught in the air, and he's just a knockout waiting to happen. So he's 19. I know he had a problem with the weight, for example, but that's something like, 8-10 fights in the last 12 to 15 months he's had. And he's been gradually coming down from like 133 to like 130, 129. So he has been at the weight now for the best part of a year and a half. So I think we've got to give him a wee bit of kind of side pass of the weight. I know he's got a job to do. He made the weight in the end, but he had as I said, 8-10 fights over the course of the year, having to kind of maintain that over that time. At 19, still growing as well. So I'd be interested to see where he is actually going to have to fill it, because at some point I think he's going to have to move up in weight in the next year. So it'll be interesting to see when he hits like the mid-20 part, if he's still undefeated at mid-20s, where he's going to be settling as a fighter, as in like weight, maybe like light welt or something like that. But still a work in progress, and we know Velez can't punch, but he's tough enough.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say that I think if you guys think Gervonta is the future, does that mean you guys think he beats Lomachenko?
I don't. Maybe Steve does, but I don't think he's the future. I just think Davis would actually, deal with Garcia. I think Lomachenko would play with
that. But don't you think until he faces Lomachenko, he's kind of going to have that monkey on his back, monkey on his shoulder, whatever. He's gonna be sort of questioned. I mean, if he's never steps up and faces the man in the division.
No, okay, fair enough. I don't think he beat Lomachenko, but he's going to be the future of something. He ain't going to be the past, the kid's skilled, and I think he's going to do a lot of good things in the sport. But beat Lomachenko, no, okay, fair enough. Andy, tell me about Mr. Choyafon Moonsri, known better to you as WBC minimum weight champion Wan Heng Menayothin. Why are we talking about him, Andy? 50-0, 18 knockouts, TBE.
TBE, 32-year-old, still got a lot to give as well. I just think, he needs to get a couple of unification fights now. I don't know what the ties are going to be doing that, but he's obviously been reigning champ now for the best part of what? I think it's about 4 years or something. Anyways, was it Wednesday or Thursday? I think it was. He won by knockout, 5th round knockout. Might have been something kind of reminds me, might have even been a rematch, but I don't think it was. But end of the day, he's basically equalled Floyd Mayweather's record, and I know the minimal weights or the straw weights didn't get a lot of recognition and stuff, but good to see the wee guy maybe get a wee bit of recognition. 50-0. I dare say he'll be fighting a game before the end of the year and make that 51-0. So he'll basically be going into the record books and that, as well as one of the most successful boxers of all time.
Never fought outside of Thailand. I wonder what Floyd would think of that. Maybe a message from Floyd.
I'm a gorilla. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I'm a gorilla. I talk to no shit.
Thanks for that, Floyd. I think that's all the fights from the weekend, unless anybody wants to add anything in. Anything I might have missed?
I've got one, actually.
Go ahead, Ozzy.
Well, the extremely active Prince Patel added another belt to his locker at the weekend.
Top 15.
He's got a top 15 world ranking with the WBO. He claimed the WBO European title. I think it was last night. So shout out to Prince Patel. #strap season. He's
has he got the RBO yet, Ozzy?
He's not, no. So I'm not on the bandwagon yet. If he can pick up an RBO belt, then I'll be fully behind him. This trip to the Budapest Fight Centre in Hungary is doing a world of good for him, and he's also boxed in Latvia and the Czech Republic as well. I mean, Michiko Shubitsi, 20-10-3. He just had no answer to him. He's from Georgia, and his best win is someone with a record of 3-28. So it says it all, really. Well done, Prince Patel. Can't wait to see you make the next step up.
The great thing about him, though, Ozzy, he was showing off his belts and his photos with two young fellas in and around the hashtags of like the big fight, you know. So it was like, excuse me, everybody, it's not only Bellew, Haye, and Triple G are fighting this weekend. You know, he was sort of gate crashing the party.
I don't get what he's doing. It's weird. He's just like, fuck the stuff off over here, and he's just gone boxing like utter garbage in Hungary, Latvia, and like I said, none of his opponents do absolutely anything. It's a real odd one. But another fight to mention as well is Jason Wellborn beating Tommy Langford on Friday night. An excellent win for Wellborn. That very close contest. Wellborn pinched it on a split decision, and again, it just proves that you can suffer your losses, but ultimately you can come back. You can do it the hard way, get a couple of wins, and he's now the British middleweight champion. An excellent achievement for Wellborn, who at one point maybe thought he'd never get anywhere near it, but no, it's a legit win. That I rate Langford, and it's one that I was surprising. I thought Langford would have enough to beat him. He also got he got a standing count in the second round as well, but no. Well done to Jason Wellborn, a real good win.
And Ozzy, while Tennis and Ward were fighting, this was for the Commonwealth and European titles, Carl Greaves was a little bit aggrieved on Twitter that his fighter Sam Bowen wasn't getting mentioned. Bowen, we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, won the British title against Maxie Hughes. Can Bowen fit into this mix against maybe a Tennyson or a Ward or somebody?
100%. He's the British champion, so he should definitely be considered in the same breath of those. I would like to see Ward and Bowen. I think that's a good fight. There's a lot of hype about Bowen. I don't look too much into the Maxie Hughes win. I think if you are getting the hype you're at, you should be beating fighters like Hughes. Yeah, Ward's an excellent fight for him, or James Tennyson, but I think James Tennyson will be looking at having basically bigger fish to fry now. Yeah, well, he's the European champion now, so in reality, you can't begrudge those sort of guys a world title shot next, because it's an excellent achievement to win the European belt, and I think it gives you a world ranking in all four governing bodies.
He's number 2 with the WBA, so Machado is the champion.
He's already turned that fight down, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was just due to it being short notice or something like that, but...
Yeah, that's right. And Bishelti was being mentioned as well. But I think they're talking about the Machado situation and the Corrales situation being messy and shock horror Aussie. There's some issue. Joe O'Neill was tweeting me today on Twitter, obviously, saying that the WBA there might be another belt, like a regular or something coming into play. Tennyson could be in line for that. I mean, come on.
It's just, there's no point to it. I would like to see Tennyson have like a solid European, level opponent. And then if he comes through that, then yeah, go and tackle one of the big guys. But for me, I just think he needs, like that bit more experience. Just go and take on, like a fringe world level guy, and then move on from that. But no, if he does go and get a world title shot next, whether it be one of the regular belts or a full version of the title, wish him the best of luck. He showed real quality. That finish on Martin Ward last night was excellent. That uppercut was looked a shot like that had serious power in it.
Yeah, well said. Machado is the champion. Davis has some kind of super belt. Rafael Mensah is hanging around as well. Chris Adams, 1302, was in touch during the week. He was unimpressed by the Bellew Haye beef at it wasn't the weigh-in, I think it was the press conference when they were pushing and shoving. Got to agree with you, as in me, on this one, says Chris. That push was the icing on the cake. This fight is so irrelevant, but they're squeezing the last penny out of it by this fake beef. Moving on, we had another question here somewhere. I'm going to hit you with this one, Haye to Dave Loback, for comedy value. Willie C00 was talking about the guru, Tommy Allen. He was recently tweeting about his top 5 pound-for-pound list of British fighters. So give me yours, Dave. Your British fighter top 5 pound-for-pound list. Countdown from 5 to 1. Come on, who's in at number 5? British top 5, Dave.
Okay. Well... I'm going to have to go with Anthony Joshua, number 1.
Okay.
Number 2. Who's good? Oh, Billy Joe.
Okay.
I'm not. Tyson would be obviously number 1, but he's not active. Number 3.
Who's he going to pick? This is riveting stuff, everybody at home. Hey to Dave Lowback.
I can think of relevant British fighters.
He's picked Joshua at 1 and Saunders at 2. Who's coming in at number 3?
Frampton.
Prince Patel, Dave?
No, fuck Frampton.
Frampton. What about George
Frampton,
Groves?
yeah.
What about George Groves, Dave?
Paul Smith.
Yeah, I'll put Groves over Frampton. And then Frampton. And then
Jimmy McDonald. Brooke!
Okay. No love for Lee Selby, Dave?
Ryan Burnett, Unified.
No, I don't like Selby. Selby doesn't fight enough like decent names. I guess Brooke doesn't either at this point. So fuck Brooke. Let's put not Khan anymore either. It's not relevant enough. He would have been like 8 years ago, but no.
That's it, isn't it, Dave? Have you given us 5?
James DeGale, 5.
Okay, thanks. Right, Gabe, same to you. British top 5.
Do I have to put them in a specific order?
Yes, 1 to 5, please.
I like Billy Joe, number 1. And this may be a little bit more of a personal list, I suppose. Then Joshua, number 2. I'm a pretty big fan of Jamie McDonald, so I would maybe 4 for him. Selby at 3, and then Frampton at 5. And I think that's a pretty good list because I don't fucking like Frampton. I wouldn't rate him anywhere because he's a big dodging cunt. So not the biggest fan of Selby either. Not that I dislike the guy at all, but I think, I don't know, maybe McDonald can go to number 5 and Frampton goes to number 4. I don't know. It depends on your personal outlook on that kind of stuff. But I think some of my own personal like or dislike is kind of creeping in there a little bit. But that's what I call top 5.
Did you want to add anything, Dave?
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was unmuted. Let me put, yes, I do. Because I forgot about Tony Bellew. I'm going to put him at 5.
Okay, fair enough. No problem, Dave. Thanks for that. Tommy Allen wants to give a shout out, Andy, am I getting this right, to a married couple, just married last night, and listen to the pod every week, and they hate Donny, apparently, Andy.
Tommy says, Tommy's asked us to give this couple a shout out. I think they're in Vegas at the minute, just recently got married, big listeners and fans of the show, and they hate Donny Baseball's guts. So Tommy says that's a win-win all round, so I think everybody would agree with that, to be fair.
Pray for Donny. Right, final couple of questions before we get on to the action next week. One for you, Rob. We've been doing a few lists recently, talking about fantasy fights, obviously. You've been involved with the welterweights, the super featherweights, all that type of stuff. Well, James Bernard, our listener friend from Australia, has jumped in. He said, obviously, we've all loved the World Boxing Super Series Cruiserweight tournament, but how do our 2 finalists rate compared to previous eras? Has it been great because of evenly matched fighters getting it on, or are the likes of Usyk and Gassiev genuinely great fighters regardless of their era? So, for example, Rob, we have a fantasy World Boxing Super Series at Cruiserweight. Throw in Holyfield, throw in Haye, throw in Adamek, Gassiev, Tony, Usyk, Virgil Hill, Jean-Marc Mormek. Just plucking a few out of my ass, says James. Feel free to throw in who you want. Basically, how does Gassiev and Usyk fit in the cruiserweight landscape over all time?
I don't know. I'm always reluctant to call modern era fighters great based on the resumes, but this tournament has definitely ensured that the best fighters in the division are all fighting each other, and I think we're seeing the 2 top guys in the final. So we'll wait and see how they fare against each other and see where their legacy lies after that. I think probably Tony would have beat the 2 of them. Holyfield probably beat the 2 of them as well. Haye have a chance, I suppose. Haye was very good at cruiserweight, but yeah, no, I'll wait and see how they get on against each other in the final before kind of making judgments again on their legacy.
I agree that Holyfield probably beat both of them, but I think it's hard to kind of rate cruiserweights and other weight classes that are newer, like super middleweight and those sort of things, because they don't have that rich history that, like, say, the heavyweight division has, light heavyweight, middleweight, because they haven't existed throughout those impressive, amazing eras of the 70s, 80s, 50s, 40s, all those years that the other divisions have had to rack up amazing fights and legends and all that.
Thanks, Dave. Final word to you, Andy, because James has actually requested a comment from you on this. Now, this might sound like a bit of an off-field thing for me to say, but I like coming out with these strange things. Given the way that Usyk struggled slightly for a few rounds with Machunu, also with Mike Hunter as well, do you think that Dwight Mohamed Kawi, despite his diminutive size, would actually give Usyk a lot of trouble?
Absolutely, mate. Just the absolute pressure. I wouldn't think he would knock him out, but definitely gave him a lot of work. And you remember as well, Dwight Mohamed Kawi fought over 15 rounds and was able to keep up that pace. So 12 rounds would be an absolute doddle to him. So, yep, I think that could be a tight fight, and it would go the distance, I would think. And it could go either way. Kawi was not wanting to be messed with. I mean, he pushed Holyfield to the brink, and just go watch the first fight if you didn't believe me.
Yeah, well said. Ozzy, final question to you. This came in from Paul Massingham. We were talking about Anthony Nelson. Anthony Nelson got his points win over a journeyman on Saturday over 6 rounds recently that he was talking to us about, obviously, on the pod. As you know, Ozzy, he's fighting Charlie Edwards on June the 16th. I think this is the Lewis Ritson bill. Any thoughts on if this is a fight he can win, Ozzy, do you think? Nelson against Charlie Edwards?
I don't. I think inactivity may just get the better of him. But at the same time, I think he's well in it. I don't really rate Charlie Edwards. He's another one that got a world title shot, basically through a loudmouth and a promoter behind him. He was well and truly outclassed, and he's. I think he's got wins of like Ian Butcher, Louis Norman, the usual crowd at that level. Domestically, Nelson. I mean, we all know him from the war he had with Jamie Conlan. I suspect it wouldn't shock me to see like an Edwards, like win by 4 or 5 rounds, to be honest. But I would love to see Nelson come back and get the win. It'd be a huge win for him, and it would lead to some real good opportunities for him. Which, sadly, after the Conlan fight, it just his career went downhill through no fault of his own.
Well said. Let's bring you back in, Gabe, on this one next Friday evening. Mayweather Promotions on US Bounce TV. I know you'll be getting the old aerial on the roof in Texas to try and get that channel. Tony Harrison against Ishe Smith at light middleweight. Does that float your boat at all, Gabe?
What the fuck? I didn't even know that was coming on. I had no clue. I don't have any interest in that at all. If Ishe Smith is on it, I'd change the channel as fast as possible. I don't know. I mean, I guess I may tune into it if I'm not too busy. But I think most likely scenario is no for me. No interest at all. Ishe Smith, really? I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't know this was coming on at all. I had no clue.
Next week is absolute dog shit, by the way.
It is pretty much. What about the undercard game? Well, we've got Andrew Tabiti, undefeated cruiserweight, going against Latif Coyote, last seen on TV, getting knocked out by Luis Ortiz, and it's at Sam's Town Hotel and Gambling Hall. That sounds like quite a fun place to be, Gabe.
Where the fuck is that at?
Las Vegas.
I'm just gonna. Sorry, it just got me laughing now. I don't have anything to say anymore. I guess I'm just off on this one. I didn't know it was happening. Don't care that it's happening. If they go back later and say, I may DVR it, and if somebody says there was something good that happened, like Ishe Smith getting knocked out cold, then I may go back and turn it on. When was Coyote's last fight?
Oh God, I don't know.
Coyote's last fight was against Keith Tapia, and he got beat on points. And before that, he got knocked out 2 years before against Denis Lebedev.
Oh yeah, the Ortiz fight was changed to a no contest, wasn't it? Because Ortiz was all pumped up. And the Antonio Tarver fight was changed to a no contest as well, Gabe, because Tarver was all pumped up.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I think he was on. I think that was on Showtime. Now, that was. It seems like so long ago that HBO used to actually be a decent fucking channel to subscribe to.
Tybee is one of Floyd's fighters actually, and I wouldn't say he was highly touted, but he was expected to be one of these cruiserweights, kind of like coming up behind the likes of Lebedev and Usyk, and
Didn't he beat Cunningham in a snoozer recently?
aye, he did. He just never really kind of kicked on. I would say he's kind of like your C-level class of your cruiserweight division. I mean, he never really kicked on. He was supposed to be coming up behind the likes of Gazaev and Usyk and Lebedev. I suppose I would say he's probably on the same level as like what Vidalchik is at the minute, but she's probably short. He's not going to make nothing now. He's just too inactive.
Poor Coyote, Gabe. He gets thrown in against these guys. What the WBC like a belt? They should make like the Drugs Cheat Championship or something, and Coyote could keep
Fucking Abel Sanchez got a belt last night, for Christ's sake.
It was funny. That's exactly what I was about to say. The guy's been fucked over more times than anybody I can think of with the fucking cheaters. So I don't know. That's all. I mean, I do feel bad for the guy, but then again, I never really much cared for him. I thought he was kind of boring, and his like. It's funny when you talk about cruiserweights. Like historically, they get overlooked. I think more than just about any other group that's not like one of the really small divisions. I mean, it's always the really small guys, and then cruiserweight. Like nobody fucking talks about cruiserweight until this last Super Series kicked in. You know what I mean? Like,
we've always talked about it in this podcast. Always.
Yes, we have. But in general, I'm talking about outside of us and you just don't see a lot of coverage on the cruiserweights. I mean, this has always been one of mine. You guys know that Kawi was one of my favorite fighters ever, and so I've always watched it, and I loved the Holyfield fight with him. Was is still one of my favorite all time fights. You know what I mean? So I think it's funny because it's like it always gets left out to me in a lot of circles. HBO doesn't really have a lot to do with it. Fucking Showtime doesn't. The Super Series isn't even getting a solid broadcaster in the United States.
Is that an American thing, Gabe? Do you think they're just not that interested in it?
I don't know. I feel like that might be a part of it. I can't say for sure, but it just seems like here nobody really pays that much attention to them. Or maybe I'm just completely off base here. But, I don't know. I really don't know why that is. I've always found them to be entertaining scraps, just like every other division. There's some shit fests, but there's also some really great fights that happen there too, but it just seems to get overlooked a lot here. Like nobody even fucking talks about Lebedev over here, which I guess I can understand. But even any of the other top cruiserweights, I mean, I think we were talking about the start of the Super Series that like nobody knew who any of those guys were. I don't know why the maybe because there's not a lot of Americans in it.
It went through a shitty phase, didn't it? The cruiserweights of like WBO fights. You had Johnny Nelson, Fabrice Tiozzo, Silvio Branco, all these guys fighting for these mediocre belts, and I think the Americans just weren't interested.
I think so. I think that may be it because it seems like one of those divisions that doesn't have a primetime guy. Like if you go through every other division, you can name a list of primetime guys, whether they're American or not. But I think there's a big lack of Americans in the cruiserweight that I can think of just right off the top of my head. But I think that's a big part of it. And then the fact that they went for such a stretch there with just not a real marquee fighter in the division and nobody moving into that division either. I mean, it's always been just south at light heavy or at heavyweight, which as you guys are well aware, I think that's a world thing that people are fascinated by the heavyweights. But how the fuck did we get on this topic? I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
We're talking about Latif Coyote. I suppose in conclusion about him, Gabe, given his history, if he gets drafted in as Canelo's next opponent, we'll know something's up.
Yeah, I think you could probably test anybody. Wait. Ishe Smith's fighting at cruiserweight?
No. Coyote's fighting Ty Beatty. Ishe Smith is fighting Tony Harrison.
I was completely off. I'm sorry, guys. I probably need to get the fuck off here. My final thoughts, not watching any of that shit.
Do you want to give a prediction about Linares Lomachenko then if you're going?
No, I won't leave the podcast. I'll wait till we get to that point.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel.
Topic. My mind's starting to wander.
No problem. Gabe's got a wandering mind, everybody. Next Saturday, Avni Yildirim, Mr. Robot, returns against Ryan Ford. I think Ford is Canadian. Cue the Benny Hill theme tune music, Rob. Mick Hennessy's in town next Saturday night. Sam Sexton against Hughie Fury. Andy said he can't remember Sam Sexton fighting recently. Well, what about that thrill fest in Scotland against Gary Cornish? Even you stayed in to watch that one.
Yeah, that's on my top 5 fight. All the time, as soon as I'm finished watching Corrales Castillo and Ward Gaddy, I throw that one on just for to have the trifecta. Like
the new Holyfield bow.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. Sam Sexton's had it. To me, he's had his time. Like, Yui Fury should deal with him pretty easily. Like, if he's going to be a contender at world level, I still think he could have beaten Parker if he had let his hands go. Like, beaten him definitively or whatever. So, I'd expect Fury to come through that one pretty easily. Actually do it in emphatic style, but he has to let his hands go if he wants to be appealing to the public. He can't just box on the back foot like that and kind of steal a decision. I don't think that's going to do anything for his stock. So he'd like to have a clear and concise victory in that one. So I'd expect Huey to win that one. So
this is a classic Mick card. This is Aussie. You know, you could blindfold someone and tell them the names and they would know exactly. Savannah Marshall has taken up the Pink Tyson role. No Lenny Dawes, unfortunately. Yusuf Safa is adopting the Junior Witter stroke Kid Galahad role. Now they've both disappeared. Peter McDonough, a staple of Mick's undercards, is on here as well. Tell me about Sexton Fury, though. I mean, it's all set up for Fury. If he loses, then we could be seeing the end of Mick, Aussie.
Definitely, but Huey Fury won't lose this fight. Sexton's getting an absolute stack of money for this, huge amounts of money. But in reality, I think Fury will stop the guy.
How's Mick affording that? He's fucking to sell his house and shit.
They've got backers from elsewhere coming in who are basically behind Huey Fury, and they're stumping the cash up. I think Hennessy on the Parker show lost nearly £1 million.
He remortgaged his house to pay Parker's purse.
I don't know what he did, but fair play, he got paid. But yeah, like I said, he lost an absolute fortune. I think Fury will, like Rob said, if Fury's serious about being this world level fighter, he'll beat him. Now, in reality, he did have a close fight with Joseph Parker, whether you thought he won or not. So he should be levels above Sam Sexton, and I think he'll stop him. Fury, one thing he does, he looks really lean. He's too big for cruiserweight, but the shape of him, he does look like, you think, oh, I wonder if he could get those few pounds off. But if he lets his hands go, I think he'll stop him. He had basically a war with Gary Cornish, who we've all seen he's garbage. Fury will win. I think he'll stop him inside 6 rounds, to be honest. And then I'd like to see Fury Joe Joyce. I think that'd be a good fight to watch.
Certainly would be. Sorry, Oz, you had something else?
No, I wasn't. No, but there is one lad to look out for is Michael Jennings, who has been on the pod a couple of times. One of his fighters is on the bill. Mark Jeffers, young middleweight. Exciting to watch. I hope he gets on TV. He's got a really exciting style. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing him as well.
Certainly, I like the way Andy, that Channel 5, have branched out. They gave McGuigan a contract, but he can't, with his stable, obviously meet all the demands. So they gave David Haye an opportunity. They're giving Mick Hennessy an opportunity. Would like to see them give the likes of Wood or Goodwin, if they can come up with the goods, an opportunity as well. I mean,
Hobson.
Well, yeah. Well, Hobson's got the free sports thing, hasn't he, going on at the moment, I suppose. As Fury, has he got to impress? It's not just about winning here. He's got to impress. And he's, like Ozzy said, he's got to let his hands go.
He is, but in the day, Fury is what he is. He's I wouldn't say gangly, but he's awkward and he's hard to hit, and he can be horrible to watch sometimes. And
that's not enough, though, is it? Now, after that Parker fight, he's got to be impressive, I think.
He's going to have to be, but I just think this is his style. According to Peter, anyway, his chin, he's got a chin of God, but. The one thing we know about Sexton is, even for a heavyweight, he doesn't really punch all that hard. And I know he's been beat a few times, but I think all these defeats have been by stoppage. He got iced off David Price, for example. I believe it's at one point. I know Del Boy knocked him out. I forget who the other one was against. Actually, might have been a fight against Del Boy as well, actually. But you would think...
Del Boy knocked him out early. Do you remember? They were like 6-0 and 8-0, and then Setanta Sports, Frank put them in against each other. Sexton was out boxing Chisora, and Chisora knocked him out in like the 6th round of an 8 or something, yeah.
You see, he was just like... Okay, he's a kind of stocky heavyweight, but as you say, Fury's a big lad. I think if you want to... I don't expect him to be fighting any differently. I think he's just going to do what he does, and he probably boxed a point decision. But I like to see him kind of really just go through the gears if he's got the gears, and just kind of step up a wee bit, as we say. But you just don't know if he's still kind of got the after effects of this illness that he's apparently had or whatever it is. I really don't know, but I'm expecting to win. But I would need to say I'm going to go safe and just say that he wins on points in a kind of laboured performance. But as for the TV deal, it's good, obviously. But Barry obviously getting, as you say, the few dates. But you like to see, obviously, Hobson's got the free sports thing, but you like to see that more mainstream, i.e. Channel 5 and that, get these guys built a profile. I mean, it would have been good to see the guy Cameron there last week on Channel 5, for example, get a bigger profile. I mean, how many people would have truly had known about free sports there last week about that fight? No many.
If they networked between themselves and says, right, you've got Hobson, you've got Wood, you've got Goodwin, you've got somebody else, I'm just throwing names out here, Sanigar or whatever, and said, right, we get the best we can get, push them together. You could get a British and Commonwealth maybe out of that. That would be good fare for Channel 5.
Yeah, you could get you probably get a good couple of fillers and that. I dare say they've got young kids coming through their ranks and that who are in gyms and that they know about. They could put into a 4-rounder.
Sambo and Maxie Hughes, the fight me and Ozzy were talking about.
There you go. A perfect example. You get a good couple of area title fights. I mean, how often have we actually watched, especially on Box Nation a few times, area English title fights that have actually turned out to be really good fights?
Yeah. Right, hated Dave Loback, I'm not going to insult your intelligence with this Fury Sexton thing. Let's go over to the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. We have Golden Boy Promotions and Frank Warren's Queensbury Promotions, although obviously Liam Smith's not involved anymore. Saddam Ali defending his WBO Super Welterweight title against Haye Munguia. He's this mystery Mexican, 28-0, came from nowhere, possible opponent for Triple G. He's got himself this big Ali fight now on the undercard. Ray Vargas defending his WBC Super Bantamweight title against Azat Hovhannissian. Is this HBO fair, Dave? Are HBO really slipping by the wayside now? I mean, what do you think about this?
If HBO put on more shows in a year, it would be okay for like an After Dark show, but they don't. They HBO is really slacking on the boxing. They don't put shows on very often at all. I don't know why they bought this. I guess Oscar doesn't have too much to offer because he doesn't have any names. This is shit. I probably won't watch it. I mean, who knows? Could be a good fight, but I don't expect anything. And if I hear anything good about it, I'll check it out. But I'm not going to be setting any time aside for watching Saddam Ali, no matter who he's fighting.
Okay, Dave. Right, Gabe, over to you. I was having a casual moment there. I was thinking, Ray Vargas, didn't he lose to Diego De La Hoya? But it wasn't Vargas, it was Randy Caballero, I think, off the top of my head. Put that to one side, Gabe. We've got Ali against Munguia, Vargas against Hovhannissian. Would this force you in on a Saturday night, HBO?
I'll watch it. I mean, I'll be real honest. I don't go out and do any carousing anyway, so... if I'm going to do drinking or anything like that, I'm just going to do it here at the house so I don't have to fuck with anybody. I don't like being around people that much. I'll watch it regardless. I mean, I want to see what Saddam Ali is going to do next. I think the last fight was a kind of a circumstantial thing. I think a little bit of it was Cotto ready to go. I think a little bit of it was his time was just, it finally was up. Like his body broke down. There was no more time left for him to go. And I think Ali did a good job too. I mean, I don't think he's a bad fighter. I don't think he's ever been a terrible fighter. I question whether he's elite. I don't think he is. I wouldn't be opposed to him proving that wrong, though. I want to see what he does. The opponent there, though, I've heard his name a few times. I think I've seen him on a few cards that I've downloaded from other shows and stuff like that. I don't really have anything very memorable that's coming out right now while I'm trying to think about him. So fair play. I think he's got a good record. But we all know that the records are kind of smoke and mirrors a lot of times. And then I'll definitely watch the other undercard fight as well, just to see what's going on there. I feel like I've seen all of these guys, but I just can't tell you much about them. Maybe it was a card or two here and there that I've seen that they were on. I don't think it was anything, any big productions. They haven't been on HBO before in terms of the opponents. And if they have, it was a super deep undercard kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean, as far as me being super interested in it, you know, telling my wife to piss off when she asks me to go to dinner or whatever, probably, I mean, I will do that, but
Gabe, I always picture you on a Saturday night like a stereotypical Texan, you know, got the cowboy hat on, running around from rattlesnakes, barbecues. Would that be accurate?
No, I don't have a cowboy hat, my friend. No. I'm more of a homebody. I mean, I do go out, but I don't really do much carousing anymore. I'm too old for that shit. So, you know, like I said, my wife tries to drag me out occasionally, and I'll go with her places and do things. But, you know, it'll probably be more just because I want to see these fights as opposed to it being a big event, you know, a must-see type event. You know, unless something even better comes up. I don't know. I'll watch it, but it's kind of with a little bit of just curiosity more than absolute desire to see it.
Any rattlesnakes chasing you around the streets of Stirling, Andy?
I just found out actually a couple of days ago that apparently snakes actually get born in Loch Lomond, so I'll not be fucking visiting there anytime soon.
That's right, it's adders around there, I think. Anyway, we digress. Andy, tell me about this Lomachenko-Linares fight on May the 12th. I am a massive Linares fan, as you all know. I think he's super talented, but even I have to admit his record's not really doesn't really back it up, does it? I mean, he hasn't really beaten anybody of any great note, but we can still enjoy watching him. You know, the skills, the look. He's a fan's favourite as far as I'm concerned.
Aye, a wee bit of concern when I think I pointed out to you guys that the fight wasn't listed in box rec anymore. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, what's happened here? But been told it's been set to private until they get the undercard fixed out and stuff. But really looking forward to it actually. Obviously Lomachenko coming up. Is he still going to be, you know, as mesmerising? Speed, timing, Linares again. I'm going to mention something here actually, and it's probably going to flag up a few complaints in that, because obviously it's never happened to him for a few fights and stuff, but I've seen people who analyse the sport and that as well actually flag this up again, and it's can Linares' skin hold up? Because you know what Lomachenko's like, he can just turn you, he can just pepper you with shots, jabs, he'll pull the guard down, he'll throw shots in behind it, he'll just, you know, mentally just try and kind of break you down, and then just, you know, technically then take you apart. So you just wonder actually, again, you know, okay, his last few fights, he's had what was it, the last 4? I think he's had his opponents quit. It's going to be real interesting actually to see what's going to happen here. Linares, will he quit? I don't think he will. Always been a big fan of him. Good balance, good technical boxer, good power, especially in the left hook. But I just think, you know, he's always had that fragility about him. He always has. I'm not going to say that Lomachenko's going to stop. I'm going to say Loma's going to win it on points. I've got a lot of respect for Linares. That's why I think he's not going to quit. If he does quit, then I'll be absolutely gobsmacked if he does.
Can't see it, Andy.
The skin might be a problem. I don't think it will be. It could. But I just think Lomachenko, he'll work the angles. He'll just pull the guard down. He'll be too quick. He'll be in and out, raiding tactics and stuff. He might get caught, and you know, which I don't think it will be a lot. But if he does, it might make him kind of refocus and stuff, and just kind of, you know, stick to his boxing. But I'm going to say something like 170, 111 for Lomachenko. If he does stop him, makes him quit, then it's a signature statement. He can't deny him. If he makes him quit, then it's going to have to be considered a big performance, big win. But if you look at, for example, you know, Luke Campbell giving him problems, going the distance twice with Crawler, Gester, who I've never really kind of rated in that, but he was cut in that fight, I believe, against Gester. So you just wonder, you know, a guy like Loma, who should be in his physical peak at the minute, you know, coming up weight, not having to drain himself, not having to cut that extra couple of pounds, couple of ounces and stuff. I think he's going to be too much for Linares, and say that he's going to win it comfortably on points.
Rob, sometimes it takes Linares a round or two to sort of work people out. I mean, try working Lomachenko out. The problem with Lomachenko's recent opponents, I think, is that they just haven't been able to give anything back to him. He's been dishing it all out and there's been nothing coming back. For Linares, for all his deficiencies, very skilled and he's very fast. So maybe for the first 4 or 5 rounds, will he be able to give Lomachenko at least something to think about?
Well, I tell you, everyone knows I'm a big fan of Linares. Like I had him in my top five pound for pound fighters when we did the list last time out. Like I think he's technically brilliant. I know we've spoken about it before. He's had setbacks, but he's gone to Japan, turned his career around, fought on the road, fought over in the UK, and maybe he doesn't have the top names on his record, but in terms of ability and guys you want to watch in the sport, for me anyway, Linares is always one of them. Having said that, like I said this before when this fight was made, I can't see a way where he wins a round nearly against Lomachenko. Well, what I would say that's encouraging is that I believe the last couple of opponents that Lomachenko's had haven't really believed that they were going to win the fight. I don't think Ringo ever thought he was going to win that fight. He was in it for the money. Like, Walters quit on him and a few of those. But like, I think you're right. He hasn't had an opponent that's going to give him something back. I would say that Linares is supremely confident that he's in the same category as Lomachenko. He sees people heralding Lomachenko's technical skills, and he believes he's right up there. Like, so, from that point of view, it makes it interesting, and it definitely makes it interesting that it's a different style. Like, can he counter Lomachenko? Has he seen anything in Lomachenko where he can impose his style on Lomachenko? Because the key to beating Lomachenko is you can't let him. Well, it's easier said than done, like, but I think the key to beating him is that you can't let him impose his style on you, and you have to do something different. So,
forcing a fight on the back foot, I think that's his weakness.
Yeah, like, and I think if Linares can, like, and that's not really Linares' game either, isn't it? Like, so he's going to be looking for counters, and I think it's going to be a tactical game where probably, where Lomachenko probably takes over in the second half of the fight, and I think he could stop him, but hope Linares puts up a good performance for him, and would be rooting for Linares, but I can't see him winning a round, to be honest with you.
Dave, if you're looking at the Salido fight, obviously the only person who's beaten Lomachenko, you can't exactly envision Linares putting in the same sort of tactical display. So what, in your opinion, does Linares bring to the table? What does he have to bring to the table to have any chance of even winning rounds? You know, it sounds a bit grim for him at the moment.
He needs to have better defense than he's ever shown, for sure. Going to be hard to get out of the way of that speed. And he needs to show a high work rate, which he's shown to some degree in the past, but I think he also does tire a little bit. He's not got, like, his gas tank is not like the greatest thing I've ever seen. I think he tired in that loss against Antonio DeMarco, for instance. And ever since he looked phenomenal for those first couple rounds, and I was impressed when he was with Freddie Roach. I said, wow, this guy could be the next big thing. And then a few rounds later, he's lost the fight by TKO. Ever since then, I've never been blown away by Linares. I like him. He's very entertaining to watch. He's very good, but he's never going to be elite, I don't think. And I think it's very unlikely he wins this Lomachenko fight. It's not a bad fight, though. I think it's still interesting to see how Lomachenko deals with it. And you never know. I mean, he's got a puncher's chance. Linares can punch. So yeah, it's an interesting fight. I just think that Lomachenko's work rate and variety is going to be way too much. I think the body punches are really going to be a factor here because Loma can work the body well. He can move around, and Linares' body will be open for him. I think he's going to be the taller guy, right? Most likely.
Who's on the phone, Dave?
I don't know. I'm not answering it. I never answer his phone anymore. Why do I even have a landline? I don't even know. All the business is done on the cell phone.
Dinosaur Dave and his fucking landline.
Do any of you guys have a landline in this era?
I don't, and I'm from Texas.
No, ours is unplugged.
I've got a landline, but it's unplugged as well.
I should just smash mine right now. Well, okay, maybe I'll do
that.
Well, I was saying, Lomachenko probably wide points. Maybe Linares wins a round or two early on because it might take Lomachenko just a couple minutes to settle into the fight. And Linares does start pretty fast, so we could see something like that. But I expect him to lose wide. Stoppage, I don't know. I don't think Linares isn't the kind of guy who's going to quit. but at the same time, he's the kind of guy who can fall apart and get stopped just by virtue of being battered around, or his face and blood and getting all messed up. So that's possible. It's still an interesting fight to watch, even though I don't think the outcome is in much doubt for me.
Any doubt for you, Ozzy? Same sort of questions, I suppose. What does Linares have to do? Is there anything he can do? Is he the best opponent of Lomachenko's career so far, all things considered? Probably Russell, would it be, maybe?
Yeah, I think him or Gary Russell Jr. In terms of that, I think it's a great fight. Just because it's disappeared off BoxRec. I saw Andy mention that. I hope there's nothing more into that than it's just some kind of like fault or something like that, because that's the last thing we want it being called off. But
no, Andy said the card's being revised apparently.
So to be honest, I think Lomachenko is special.
Sorry, Ozzy, go ahead.
Sorry, Steve, I have no idea what you said then. You sounded like one of these R2-D2 on Star Wars.
Maybe make more sense. No, Andy was saying that the card's just being revised. That's why it's been taken off.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's good then. Yeah, it's a great fight. I just can't see what Linares, what problems he can pose. I think it was a great point that Luke Campbell caused him problems, and I could never see Luke Campbell causing Lomachenko any problems. Do I think he'll stop him? I don't think he'll knock him out, but if Linares' skin can't hold up and he starts to cut badly, we've seen him before. I think he's lost a fight due to a real. Did he have a real badly cut eyelid or something like that? So I think that could potentially pose a problem. But no, I wouldn't be shocked to see Haye agreed to, like, win a couple of early rounds, and it'll be interesting to see that if he can, when he throws his punches, those combinations that Linares does, they're equally as quick. They're excellent, and it will be interesting to see that if he can land on Lomachenko, how he deals with those, because that's not something he's really had to deal with in a very long time. Because we saw with Rigondeaux, he barely landed a glove on him. Never mind anything else. So it will be interesting. I think it's a great fight. I just think Lomachenko is the elite of elite, and he will just have too much for Linares. But I like both fighters, and it's one that I am looking forward to.
Gabe, along with Crawford Horn, I believe that Bob Arum is putting this show on ESPN. Is this to just try and give ESPN a bit of a boost, a bit of a kick-up as it tries to bring in this new app streaming service? Bob's just doing his bit for the cause, really?
I don't know. I think that's more of an ESPN decision. I think that ESPN buys the fights and then they do what the fuck with them they want. Like, I can't see Bob really being too picky and choosy about what happens with that app, because I think the deal's already there, and I think really why it doesn't make any fucking difference to him. They've already bought the fights; they're getting what they wanted, and so then they probably have the terms to dictate, what is on where, and I think. Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're going to pick and choose what they put on there. And I'm kind of really surprised this one's not on that app. Like, they're putting, what's the Khan fight was on that app, and then what's the next one? There's another one coming up that's on. I think that's the Crawford Horn's going to be on the Plus app, maybe.
Well, here is the Undercard is on the app, because it says here Undercard bouts will stream live on the ESPN app beginning at 4:30. So are you saying that Linares Lomachenko isn't going to finish? Follow them on the app?
I don't know. I haven't paid any attention to it. It may be they've got like just the ESPN app, just a plain app you don't have to pay subs for, but then they have the Plus app, which is the subscription thing. So I'm assuming that maybe they put their shit on so many different ways. There's literally, I'm not fucking teasing. I don't know if you guys have watched the movie Dodgeball. There's literally a fucking ESPN 8 The Ocho. That's a real fucking thing. Like, if you have, if any of the Americans listen, you have Dish Network and you go to on-demand stuff, you can literally find an ESPN 8 The Ocho. They show like dodgeball. Literally, they have a dodgeball fucking tournament and some weird shit on there.
So is ESPN Bob's only outlet now of TV?
I think maybe aside from the odd and end fight, maybe on HBO or putting a fighter with it. I think it may depend on how he matches up guys, but I think all his probably in-house stuff, which he's been a fan of doing forever, is probably going to be on ESPN. Except this one's ESPN Golden Boy as well, so I'm not sure. I don't really know the terms of all the distribution and how they're working all that shit out, but I think as far as he wants to do it, most of the stuff's going to be with ESPN. Like I don't even think there's any of his fighters lined up for HBO or Showtime as we speak. That may change, but I can't see him keeping it this way because there's so much goddamn money to be made on premium and then pay-per-view subs that I just can't see him maintaining that. I don't know what got into his head whenever he was doing this. Maybe he wants to build it for a couple of years on this deal and then move back to the pay-per-view premium format. I really don't know, to be honest with you. To me, honestly, as a business, it doesn't make any sense the way that they're doing it. As a fan, I love it because I'm getting to watch it without having to be. I still have my subscription to HBO, but I don't have to rely on that to be the way that I get to watch top ranked matches. I don't have to have Showtime to get top ranked matches. So I think it's a good thing for fans, but as far as business, I don't really. I can't see the purpose behind it. It just, to me, it's off. Something doesn't equate right to me.
What's the fight prediction then, Gabe?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that could happen. Man, I really want to believe that Linares has a decent chance. I just don't see it though. I mean, I really, really would like to see him do the business, not because I dislike Lomachenko. I just always have liked Linares. I would like to see him do it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think at some point he's going to cut up and then they're going to stop the fight. I don't know though. There's something that tells me it may be a little bit more interesting than some of us are thinking because I think Linares may control that distance a little bit more. And if he can control the distance to some extent and keep Lomachenko back from being able just to jump in, then I think he could have a little bit of success here and there. Regardless of if he does have a little bit of success or not, Lomachenko is going to win, whether it's on cuts or stoppage on cuts or decision. I can't see Linares taking this fight in any shape, form, or fashion. I mean, I can't see it.
No, I don't believe that Linares will come anywhere near close, but I do agree with Andy around the sort of 117, 111, probably 118, 110 region. I do think he has the speed and the activity to at least make it interesting early on and maybe pick up a couple of rounds before Lomachenko takes over. We will be going on to the Bellew of the week shortly and then getting out of here so everyone can enjoy their bank holiday tomorrow, if indeed you have one, and get the pod turned around for Patreon, patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Go and subscribe. Plenty of stuff coming up this weekend in particular. Before we do any of that, Rob Kelly, I believe you wanted to make a point on something.
Yeah, well, I got to jump off early, so I won't be sticking around for Bellews, but I suppose this kind of falls halfway into Bellews. Eddie Hearn said this week that he's going to spar someone of his choice for £1,000, right? Because he says people call him up on Twitter and all that.
Cherry picking bastard, cherry picking cunt.
He's 18 stone. I was 14 and a half the last time. I was 6'2". I don't know what height he is, 6'5", 6'6".
I asked him at what weight. He never got back to me.
I give him away 2 stone, and if we get a Patreon drive for me to go and give Eddie Hearn that smoke. Let me know if you want to see it, because he allegedly he said he'd give Tommy a cuddle when he seen him and everything, but then he didn't want to give him a cuddle. So maybe he'll take it in the ring and get that smoke from Rob.
You fancying it, Rob? Well, tweet him about that.
Light work, man. Easy work.
Okay, I'll let him know.
And I tell you what, right? If the Patreon subscribers get behind it, we'll even show them proof of funds.
Aye.
So I accepted my offer, Eddie. Let me know. You said you send me an email. Let me know if you're accepting my offer, and we send you the contract with proof of funds. Asshole.
At Rob H. Kelly.
How much will we want to kind of put toward charity or to kick his ass?
Well, it depends. It depends. You know what I mean. I'm very aligned with charity. You know what I mean. I do a lot of charity work. I don't talk about it.
That's fine. I know what you're talking about. we didn't want him doing like a $5,000 tax write-off and stuff like that, you know.
Right, I'll even let him push me at the press conference to hype it up with his baronet. Right, so yeah, Rob Kelly versus Eddie Hearn. Let's make it happen, people.
What's your Twitter again, Rob?
Rob H. Kelly.
There you go.
So see,
Thanks,
I smoke. I'm a dog. I'm a gorilla. Stop that shit up. Right, let's see us next week.
Like, you gotta wrap yourself into the ring like Roy Jones, though, Rob.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. You almost have forgot.
Cheers, Rob. We'll catch you next week. Bye. Right, let's move on to the Bellew of the Weeks and then get the hell out of here. Quite a strong week, and we have to finish up very soon. So I've had to call the casuals, I'm afraid. If you've sent one in, it's from a casual source. All but two have been cut out, but we will put them up on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Boxing Asylum. You will find them over there, but I can't read them out tonight because I've got no time. Boxing Betting has nominated Barry Hearn. We're going to try to destroy the secondary market, said Barry, making an ethical stance. The Matchroom sponsored by StubHub, though, of course. Barry must have forgotten about that one. Philippians has nominated Tony Bellew. Bellew commented, "If you understand boxing the way I do, I have some boxing brain." Then he went on to explain how Juan Baby Bull Diaz beat the great champions like Morales and Barrera. As you'll know, Andy, reality check, Tony, Diaz never fought either Morales or Barrera. So
yeah, I was trying to figure that one out myself, actually, but, you know, we'll bypass that.
It was Juan Manuel Marquez that he had his big fight with. Porky's Corner has nominated JG Boxing in the space of... Oh, sorry, JG Boxing, apologies, was nominating Tony Bellew. In the space of an hour today, Bellew had said that he'd beat Stevenson at cruiserweight, fight the winner of Usyk Gassiev, and then topped it off by saying he'd beat Tyson Fury. So another nomination for Mr. Bellew. Callum Neal has nominated Gareth A. Davis, just for being Gareth A. Davis, really. As good a reason as any I can think of. Sky Sports Boxing, Willie C00 has nominated David Hayes, I don't know what his trainer or what he was, Mr. Ruben Tabares. David Haye has been compared to Usain Bolt by Tabares, the man who rebuilt his body for Tony Bellew rematch. I hope David Haye kept the receipt from whatever Mr. Tabares charged him for rebuilding his body for that rematch. Moving on, Martin Hurry has almost nominated Tony Bellew for saying the same things about Juan Diaz. This is a good one. Michael Gearty has nominated a place called Napoleon's Sheffield. I think it's a bar and restaurant in Sheffield. Napoleon's were advertising the big fights over the weekend, and this is a quadruple nomination from them. They were showing the Tony Bellew and David Haye fight on Saturday night, fair enough. Live coverage from 7:30 p.m, plus an added bonus at Napoleon's. They were then moving stateside to show the Saul Alvarez fight against Leonard Golovkin. And a great night of boxing all round, says Napoleon's. And then they put a picture of AJ and Parker up. So apparently Saul Alvarez was fighting Leonard Golovkin and AJ Parker was pictured. So congratulations, Napoleon's. They actually deleted the tweet after that, but Michael Gearty managed to get it. Hot Stig, the Twitter king, has got nominated again. He's talking about Ali, Bellew, Tyson. We know you listen, Stig. We're going to invite you on the pod soon to discuss the career of Muhammad Ali in comparison to Tyson Fury. Michael McElway has nominated you. IFL TV, we're talking about Carl Frampton. Brad Johnson, I know he's a casual, but I've had to mention him because he's a complete idiot over on Twitter. He's been going back and forwards all week. Eddie Hearn is the king, even more so when Matchroom USA hits. Go Eddie, hashtag, says Brad. And he just kept on defending Matchroom and Eddie, and he's quite a strange character. I think he's a fake account. John Kearns has nominated Sky Sports, the usual shite coming from them. Adrian Broner has been nominated from Vitaly Klitschko. Broner defending sexual abuse now. Who else have we got? Erislandy Lara.
Can I just say something about Broner, actually? Yeah. He's actually been, I think at one point at university, may have been caught up in a rape charge. I think when he's defending that shite.
Sure, it's Broner, Andy. What can you say? That's all you need to know.
Yep.
Broner being Broner. Erislandy Lara has nominated Nicola Adams for liking a nip slip pic on Instagram. He also nominated Jamel Charlo. I'm going to give Charlo, cut him some slack here. Apparently Charlo didn't know that all twins have birthdays on the same day, but I think Charlo was slightly misconstrued there, and I'm not going to get into it now because it's too boring, but I'll give Charlo a pass on that. Darren Cope has nominated Rio Ferdinand. It's with a heavy heart. I'm hanging up my gloves, says Rio. A great career he had, but he's finally decided to pack it in. Rio Ferdinand has been refused a professional boxing license. I wonder whose knees would be more stable, him or David Haye, if they had a fight. Irish Boxing News, our friend Kane has nominated a website called loveindublin.ie. Loving Dublin, but hating research, says Kev Byrne. Apparently, Katie Taylor handed her belt back to her opponent. No other fighter in the world, male or female, would have done this. That shows the class of Katie Taylor, says Loving Dublin. But of course, fighters do that all the time. Simon Luckhurst, 2 Bellews from him. He's nominated Tony himself for saying that he is slicker than Tyson Fury. And Simon has also nominated Piers Morgan. Apparently, Tyson Fury was on one of these morning chat show things. He told Tyson Fury, did Mr. Morgan, "We know that you have the heart and the guts, but Joshua is a skillful boxer. Do you think you have the tools to beat him?" Christ, says Simon Luckhurst. I would echo that. Andy, we're here. This is a good one. Scott Anderson on the Boxing Banter page. After 3 sessions, it's finally complete. You have to see this to believe it, everybody. Go to the Facebook page. I'll put it up. Thanks to Lee at Dragon Tattoos. What do you think, Carl Froch? Describe it for us, Andy.
Listen, I think Dave the Hater says, listen, everybody's got to have their unique description on this shit. So can I just say something, right? He looks like a deformed. He looks like his face looks like Meatloaf and that, like, I'll do anything for love video. He looks like a fucking dragon. His face is like a melted welly, and his left arm and his left leg. You remember that guy that fought fucking Anthony Yiggett on the Channel 5 card, Joe Hughes? You know how he was kind of like bulked up on one side of the body, but he was like fucking puny on the one side. Well, this is who this guy looks like on the left bicep and the left leg. It's just the nose looks Jewish, I must admit. The hair looks kind of like proper, Italian swept back 1950s greasy looking bastard look, and it's got frotch with like black and yellow trunks, and for some reason it's got like a kind of like Roman, the kind of Roman flowers, like the kind of cornucopia thing you used to put around about the heads. What do they call it again? The kind of floral leaf around about the head and that. It's just awful. 3 sittings. I'd actually get a handgun and shoot your fucking...
Andy, how many ethnic groups are you going to upset in this description?
Fuck them, that's how bad it is.
Come on, Dave. It was like Bob Fitzsimmons, wasn't it, from back in the day, man? It is brutal, like.
Yeah, he's got these old school gloves on, and he's got his hands out kind of like in the mummy stance, like the oldsters used to do. Also, he's a southpaw, which is just completely wrong. And it really looks, it might be a weird reference for some might not get it. If you ever have seen Star Trek Deep Space Nine, it looks like Constable Odo, who's a shapeshifter and he's made out of clay or some shit. Which would make way more sense than Froch to explain why one of his legs is like a little twig and one of them's like a big thick tree stump. One of his arms is like...
It's fucking horrendous.
I think it's a spoof. I think he's got a tattoo of an old school boxer that he's seen from somewhere, and he's like photoshopped Froch's name on it or something, because he's put it on one of those Boxing Banter pages. I do think it's a spoof, man.
I hope it's one of those temporary... No, it's more funny, though, if it's real, though. I hope it's real, but, I mean, it could be just one of those temporary tattoos that he got for a laugh, but, I mean, oh, my God. I hope somebody, out there gets it to Froch and he sees it and it's like... Imagine his reaction.
Right, moving on. Matt Clements has nominated Froch himself for mentioning Eric Morales as his favourite Puerto Rican fighter. Tyson Luke Terminator 10-year reign Fury at Vitaly Klitschko has nominated Mauricio Suleiman. You were mentioning this earlier, Andy. They were presenting Abel Sanchez with a Trainer's Award, a belt inspired by the traditional towel, hashtag something my green belt.
Can I just say something, by the way? Can you imagine using that as a towel to fucking end a fight? Imagine lobbing that into the ring, by the way. You fucking knock the fighter out.
Oh dear. Jay Steele 88 has nominated Prince Patel. Prince Patel put on his Twitter, "and the new WBO European Bantamweight champion via another KO. Looking forward to next month's top 15 world ranking, all the way up. Hopefully can finish the year with a world title. We're all behind you, Prince. We're all behind you." I'd love to get him on the show, Do you think he'd come on? He wouldn't, would he?
Of course he would.
I'm going to try and get him on if I can. I'm going to message him. If you follow Prince Patel or he follows you, send him a direct message and tell him we want to get him on. Sean Stevenson has nominated Bellew, talking about the flip getting switched on Sky. I prefer flipping the switch, says Sean. Dan Mills, I'm nominating the whole of Paul Smith's Twitter rant about Paul Butler missing weight. Who we got? Liam Wynn has nominated James Tennyson for wearing boxing shorts that look like they were from Lidl. Jamie Collins, Bellew of the Week has to be either Carl Froch or Matthew Macklin during the Butler Rodriguez fight. Smith talked about legendary Puerto Rican fighters, and Froch and Macklin both answered Eric Morales. Michael Gearty nominated Dillian White through the medium of the mighty Michael Benson. I think David Haye should come back, says Dillian, and have one more fight with me so I can end his career for good. Let's go, David.
Can I just say something? Benson listens to this show, by the way, right? And right after John Ryder won there last night, he's like, yes, he's gonna target Tyron Zoiga. By the way, where did this Tyron Zoiga news get released again?
He said something like it was revealed somewhere.
Yeah, revealed. Yeah, where was that revealed? Listen, dickhead, I know you listen to us. I know you still follow me, but by the way, if you're going to start fucking using our sources, at least give us a bit of fucking reputation for it, eh?
Well said, Andrew.
Don't make me call you, because I'll haunt you, by the way. I will fucking haunt you.
Tommy Roosh has nominated Isaac Warrior Lowe. Isaac Lowe had some heartfelt words to say after the Bellew Haye fight. He tweeted out, "Fair pat to Tony Bellew, but Haye made cutout self."
That's that guy who always tweets like in unintelligible stuff, right?
Fair pat to Tony Bellew, but Haye made cutout self. What the fuck do you mean? Oh man, that's a brilliant. Well done, Isaac. I don't know why, but his tweets are class, man. Fair play to him. Prince Patel has been nominated by Dean Glover. John Evans, listener to the pod, Hola John, has been nominated by Evan Fields TBE for putting Daniel Dubois in the top 10 punchers on Box Nation. John did have a defence for it, but I'm not sure what it was. Holly Lewis, finally, from me, has nominated one of the commentators for the Triple G fight, overly critical of Golovkin in the second round and pointing out that Martirosyan was standing up to his punches and said Golovkin wasn't a big puncher, just as he knocked Martirosyan out. That's all the ones I've got. Andy, do you have any nominations?
Just the one that I put into you, mate, was it Mr. Anderson, I think it was, because the feedback I was getting off at the likes, retweets, and that was just epic. It was off the scale. Try to think what else might have be on the case. I can't think of it at the minute.
One for myself as well, Andy. I'm taking an L for our interview with Tom Satas recently, Fraser Kendo's manager, when I got my EE bill in this week and realised that phone call had cost me £29.84. Pence.
Yep, so if you want to listen to Tom Satas actually, supporting or defending as to why Fraser Kendo's got a world title shot, it cost Steve $30 fucking dollars to bring you that exclusive interview.
Premium rate, man, £29.84. I nearly died when I saw that.
I'd be like, what the fuck? But no, mate, listen, I love you, man, but at the end of the day, I've got to say, I think you've got to take that L. Like, I'm going to go for you.
Oh no, come on! I can't, Dave. I don't know who you've got to nominate, but I can't be worse than Mr. Tattoo, surely, Dave.
No, I'm gonna have to vote for the Tattoo. Although I want to nominate David Haye for that just abysmal performance and the shit he talked and just everything about Haye and his miserable retirement fight.
Oh, by the way, I've just found one actually. Did anybody see Ericsson Lubin's tweet last Tuesday?
Was that the Coke one? The cocaine one?
That's the one with Jermel Charlo bending over like next to a big pile of white powder, right? So Ericsson Lubin says, "Get that strap," right? And Jermel Charlo just comes back fucking easy as pie. "I seen you last weekend. You ain't have shit to say. I had your mama crying for a rematch when I knocked you out. You better chill, you fucking bum. But I guess you don't remember. You sure you not the one on the coke?"
That was a good one. I always think fighters who talk shit after they got blasted like Lubin have no business, really, do they?
No, they don't. They fucking don't. This is saying about Charles. I forget what one it was actually. I apologise for how he behaved or what he said and that. But these guys are clearly, where they're from in Houston, Texas, clearly fucking bad motherfuckers. Just don't apologise. Just be who you are.
Big cocaine culture in Texas, Gabe. I'm not saying anything about you now. Have you got any nominations or who do you want to go for if not?
I got to go for the tattoo guy, but honorable mention to Dave for always giving me a laugh with his fucking bitterness.
Dave the Hater, back everybody. At Boxing Asylum, why, Dave?
That's correct. Although I've heard some good hate out of Gabriel tonight. Damn. I mean, he's more negative than me.
Joke, Dave. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt.
Oh, I'm not hurt. That's my name. I'm happy with it because I speak the truth.
I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why the listeners appreciate you and don't hate you like they hate Donnie.
Yeah, pray for Donnie. Right, Ozzy, any nominations from you? And if not, tell me who you're going for.
Nothing from me, but that moron who got that tattoo is a worthy winner.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go for him as well. Just me going against the curve. Andy, did you vote for me and then everyone else for the tattoo?
It doesn't matter, mate. I'll vote for the tattoo as well because that was like that. That's a fucking monstrosity. That's what that is. That is an absolute awful. I mean, come on. See if you had that done, I would be basically I'd be test trialing myself for like skin grafts and that, and I would be taking. I'd be taking the skin graft off a guy if I can give me that tattoo actually at the same time. A cheese grater. What the fuck?
Grater, man, got to get the cheese grater on that, baby.
Fucking hell. That's bad.
Ozzy, anything you want to say finally?
No, nothing from me, no.
Right, let's close it out then. Congratulations to Scott Anderson for his tattoo. If you haven't seen it, I will put it up on the Facebook page or you can find it on one of our Twitters. It is well worth seeking out. Thank you to everybody who's been on tonight. Unfortunately, like I said, we had 2 guests lined up and they both pulled out within the space of about half an hour of each other. So what can you do? We'll try and get them on in the future. If you have anybody else, any boxers, managers, promoters, whatever, who you want to come on, then let me know in advance and I'll not ring them. I'll get somebody else to ring them. But seriously, thanks to Dave the Hater Lowback and Andy Patterson, Gabe Lewis, Ozzy Smith. Also, we had Rob Kelly on the call. Who else did we have? John Ryder was on at the beginning. And I think that was it. Yeah, that's all it is, guys. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.